Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Earth Defense Force 6, 9, 8? Who knows? Because we seem to keep going back in time. Back. On our magical adventure through time because the aliens keep trying to reset things. But that's okay because we're clever. Because we keep going back with them and making some adjustments to their adjustments. Who is going to win? Will humanity, using all of its cheat powers and hacks, win? Or will the aliens finally, from the future, continue to reset things enough times to where they finally go back in time, make changes, and we fail to get back there? Let's find out on Dragon Ball Z.
I think we'll win because we have plot armor. I also think it'd be crazy for the devs to write this like several. At this point, it's like 200 missions. This is just continuing the last one. It'd be crazy to write at least 220 missions and then have everyone lose. That'd just be a little crazy.
There's been stranger things. Here's a question for you, Rampage. Have you ever seen Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Probably. I've seen a bunch of those, but I don't remember which ones I've seen.
Alright, so do you know specifically what is... so Raiders of the Lost Ark is where he attempts to find the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
If you removed Indiana from that movie, all the events of the movie would have occurred anyway, and the villains would still lose.
Oh.
And the reason for that, I don't know if you know how that movie ends.
I don't.
So the Nazis, in their infinite wisdom, believe that the Ark of the Covenant was real, and that if they opened it, they would gain power from that would cause their armies to become invincible. There is just an interesting catch about that. If you believe the Ark of the Covenant is in fact a real thing, what would make you think opening it would do you good, specifically since you were personally doing very, very, very bad demonetization of the of that deity's holy people?
Yeah, I don't. That doesn't make much sense.
That's like one of those. So if you think it's real, why would you want to open it?
Yeah.
So the
You
movie,
even want to look for it.
for those unfamiliar, the Nazis open the Ark, and basically, all the Nazis die as the angel of death descends upon them.
That's.
As I
Wonder if
said,
this
like just from a
stream is gonna-
logical point of view, that it just wouldn't work.
Wonder if the stream is gonna get flagged now.
I mean, we were discussing Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's the same thing as if you believed there was, like, Hercules had a sword, right? And you believed that if you wield it, it would give you supreme power. But if there was also writings that if you didn't have a pure heart, you would turn to dust. Would you just assume that all the good things that you heard about it are accurate and none of the bad things? Like, would you just assume that?
What's crazy is, I don't even know if there has, like, if there was any written benefits to having it in your possession.
I
I
believe
feel like
any
I feel like
army.
every time someone held it, it was just a game of hot potato to get rid of it.
We found a certain bacteria on a Krul's body. It's the same one as found on Martian rocks. And what of it?
It's funny, is that movie also was rated PG, and you just saw a bunch of Nazis like melting. It's incredibly graphic.
They're Martians. Who cares about that? We'll starve if we don't cure them.
Yeah, that's quite funny. I'm dead.
I see this.
Yeah, I died to a pillar.
Should ask Nick if he wanted to join us. I'm going to attempt to get back to you. These players just wait. I'm getting there.
I feel like he's gonna, if he did want to, like, if he was available, I feel like he'd be really underleveled.
Probably. It would be like having Kuro here.
The Kuro has more health than I do.
Yeah. Well, he's been grinding.
Kuro is
so-
over level.
I've
he's probably
tried not to
very-
do that too much.
The thing is, right? It's like I want all the story points to like be revealed to me as we do them for this stream, and then there's no real point in just playing like adventure levels over and over again. Because even if I did play them on higher difficulties, it's like I can't use anything I get.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of purpose, because like even health doesn't really matter very much in this game. Mobility matters way more than health, at least for Fencer.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe with like Aerator, you know, your movement's pretty much the same no matter what you do. With Fencer, if you stop moving, you die. It's like it doesn't matter how much health you have. If you stop moving, you die.
Yeah.
Over here! This way! And there's still some left.
It's better than the surface. Sometimes I can't tell which is worse, the surface or the underground.
I know there are more spiders here, but I cannot see them. It makes them much harder to burn.
I just realized how awful my iron bullets are on this map, because like the weight, like you're in that hallway, right?
Yeah.
Just this.
Does it like have did the projectiles like do damage if something touches them?
Yes.
Well, no, that's kind of interesting.
It has some of the same effects as the big bullet, the normal size bullets. It's just really
Oh.
tiny ones. Uh-oh.
I killed everything but one spider and just disintegrated.
But because it shoots out so many pellets in this close quarters, this is a very, very sad weapon for the enemies to fight against. I'm hoping to get to you soon. I apologize.
You are not speed.
Well, Well, like my speed is rolling sideways.
Yeah, very different. They have silver weird spiders. I don't think we've seen those before. We've seen silver spiders, but I don't think silver weird spiders have been seen. Are we going up here or down there? Oh my, they're coming here. I see. Ow! Ow!
Oh wow.
I didn't
rampage.
expect them to spawn there.
If you come to where my mech is, there's a heal thing.
Oh, are they the... No, they're the silver ones. Why?
Truly merciless. They don't plan on letting a single one of us live.
Find any remnant enemies.
You're a little too far away from the healing.
Yeah, he's
Time's
grabbing
running
boxes.
out. We have to go to the surface and search for the ring. The time slip is nothing but a mere coincidence.
I don't know how that counts as in range, but I'll take it.
But if we follow the same steps at the same time,
They're all below. Yeah, they're all down here. On the ceiling.
Isn't there
Oh, they're ants.
It's faster to count the number of
They have gold ants.
You'll die if you're sensitive.
Not good.
Unfortunate.
Oh wait, the gold ants are really weak for some reason. Never mind, we're fine. They have like the same. They have less health than the normal ants. That's odd. Why do they have less health? That makes no sense. Maybe they're not like real gold ants? They're just like reskinned silver ants, and the real gold ants only show up in higher difficulties?
It's possible.
Because there weren't any gold ants in hard and EDF 5.
I mean, we
Really?
are using 8th generation.
That's a
weapons.
wrap. We can finally take a breather. There's nothing here. Maybe it's over there? Is this the remains of an old water fountain? Look over there. They're coming in. So that's the secret entrance? It's a massive horde! There's no end of them! We can't let them get past us. Shoot!
Oh, fire red man. Fire red man. Fire drones that aren't red die so easily, and then the ones that are just don't die.
There are water pipes scattered all over the city.
There we go.
Discovered this place. They'll be sending their big guns here.
why do they want to kill us so bad?
They may already be digging a hole from above.
They won't go down that easily.
Oh, I assume we're trying to.
We're trying to get to the ring.
Relived
Yeah.
tragic moments again and again. Seen more
So does that mean we're actually still in the Utopia
I've had enough of this.
timeline?
I don't think my heart or my mind can take it much longer.
Well, they made another change.
Did they dig this hole?
This is our home. You're not welcome here.
You can have the surface.
So, like, the Utopia fell because they made an adjustment.
So then why don't they just move the ring away? Why do they still need the ring here?
Because they're making, I believe it's because they're making logistics changes and alterations.
Understood. What is this hole? Is it something they dug? Look, monsters are coming down hard.
It's no time to sing hallelujah. It's raining monsters.
Hallelujah, it's raining monsters. Oh my god.
It's raining spiders.
Oh, that's not a thing. Well, see, they were referencing a song there.
Were they actually? I didn't
Yeah,
read
it's
this.
Hallelujah, it's raining men.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot of spider corpses.
Yeah, they jumped in front of my map.
I just went down to the bottom because that's where I saw a lot of them fall.
Spiders, cast extermination, and it will be super effective.
That was in construction. It's now become a breeding ground for monsters.
They've got free access through here.
Ah,
That can't be good.
A part of their terraforming plans. Monsters
Okay,
have
there we go.
body fluids to neutralize any pollutants, so the monsters released underground are meant to pave the way. But hold on. How can monsters purify the air? They shouldn't have such a function. Unless they were raised in such an environment. Don't tell me. Those monsters are originally from Earth?
hadn't I already figured that out?
This is making it
We
sound
need
like
rations.
these creatures are
I'll render the
purifying the earth
surface.
because of how poisoned the earth is
You'll die if
in
you
the
go out
future.
there.
I'll return safely, I promise.
I gotta say, things ain't looking too bright.
All my AI finally made it down the hole, and then I went
Death
up.
in sight. They're watching us. If we peek out, they'll find us.
If we peek, they'll find us. No.
A kraken? Did he say kraken or crow? Because I feel like I read kraken.
I didn't see it actually. I'm sorry.
We're going to rescue the corporal. This can never go wrong.
Why would you even think it would go wrong?
Nah, it'd be crazy to even consider that as a possibility.
I don't. So I think because Whisper's not here, I don't need to actually bring my health. I barely found a purpose for using like a single one, and that was to heal you.
I need the Well, level over my disruptor is 23. I need the power dine.
You need the power dime.
Yeah. There's actually two things that I want from level 41. I get a new sword at this level if it drops, and power dines, which will replace my disruptor. But
The Earth is controlled by the Kraken.
yep, he said kraken.
Calm down.
Unleash the Kraken!
I knew I read kraken.
Arr, matey.
That's a new thing, though. So I guess this is what they changed. They added krakens.
They have the ability to summon darkness. Don't lose your grip.
They
They
can
have the
summon
ability to summon darkness. They also have the ability to be a giant meat sponge. Bullet sponge. That's the right word. I killed one. They have about 23,000 health, I think.
What a sight. Do not cower. Shoot.
This one started flying. That's gonna make him a lot harder to kill.
Oh, I see. They're very upgraded, like cruel.
Yeah. If I can surprise them, they die really easily to disruptors, but otherwise I guess they fly and their shield works properly.
Thankfully,
kind of annoying.
they cannot defend themselves against 15,000 projectiles. Good to know.
Wow, that's a... Wait, their terraforming bases look different too. They're not the big spheres. They're whatever those are. They have small kraken too? Brought a rocket launcher, not my disruptors. 'Cause they are quite high up. That. Goodness, what is going on? Oh wow, these do not have very much health. I guess these are like gonna be the like drone of the EDF 9 or 8. What are we on now?
I think it was 8.
So is this next one gonna be 9?
You know, the one time I don't bring my sniper. Sniper would have actually been very useful.
Lady Luck must be on your side.
This is grand.
He says the Lady Luck. I just think disruptor.
Give me a minute.
Flying object detected. Kraken! They're gathering here.
Ah, I don't have a disruptor. I don't have enough disruptor for all of those.
Sorry, I believe it's gonna be.
There's quite a few of
If
them.
it follows the standard policy, we're gonna hide now.
Yeah. There's no way we're fighting all of these.
We're completely surrounded.
Yeah. They look like the small ones look like the ink thing in Mario Kart.
The ink thing.
Yeah,
You mean the squids?
The squid thing. I don't know any.
I know some Mario enemy names. I don't know what that one is called. But I will know, at least, they're not Stanley the Talking Fish.
Hmm. This is... I guess I could bring Bloodstorm, but I'm still gonna bring my Disruptor. I think there's enough rain. So the last time we did this mission, it was Banquet of the Water God, I think? And now we're doing wind.
By the way, interesting. I actually had the Proteus that had those lasers. By the way, I just didn't know. The
Oh.
default Proteus now has lasers.
They're all gone.
No. Just hiding. A sound decision.
It's over. I can't see any of you. Now they're just showing off, sending in the big guns. This is the end. We're out of here. But we need to find our allies. They should be alive. Come on. This is impossible. They've got so many arms and legs, and they can use several weapons at once. Us humans got 2 arms and 2 legs. We can't even compete. We have defeated them before. There's a way to fight them.
The way to fight them is everyone just becomes a fencer. If everyone becomes a fencer, then it gets a lot easier because everyone has disruptors. Why? Okay, I'm gonna disruptor. What? I'm gonna disruptor him because he's red.
Attack the shield until it turns black. Then aim at the Kraken's body.
And I think that means he's gonna be like strong.
Their weapons are dangerous. Just dodging is not enough. The bullets can change trajectories.
Hi, Squidman. Hi, Squidman. Yeah. Okay, he had about 30k health, I think, which isn't too much more than the normal squid guys. But I'll go for a green one now. I think the different colors might just be different guns, not necessarily different like health bars. But
I can't afford to die here, not today!
15 plus, yeah, they have about all the same amount of health. I think the different Krakens have different small guys guarding them. Match with their cavalry. Ow! Okay, green guys are annoying.
Anyone here?
Crap! If only I could use the radio!
DK, the last green one's really low. If you want to finish him off. He's being quite annoying. So,
Give me a
but
second.
he's quite
Topping
low.
my health off.
I don't know what I'm looking at. A lot of things. Back to the underground. Wow, there's a lot of things going on. Goodness. Green guy's quite annoying. I think he's going after you now. Trying to kill a lot of the small guys. But the big ones are too high. away from looking around a little.
Alright, green guy is dead. One of the green guys.
Yeah, he was the only. I killed the first green guy. There was only that one. Everything is pretty far from me. So, you know, or at least, I guess there's one squid guy who left me for you.
I'm targeting this guy again.
Yeah. I thought I still had all three. I do not. One of them left me for you.
I feel like Mr. P would probably not like to fight these people.
Oh my.
So the flying things aren't too dangerous unless I stop moving. The second I stop moving,
nothing very dangerous,
then it becomes
honest.
unfortunate. Particularly if you're being chased by 10,000.
I killed a lot of the small things. Goodness, their shields are physical. Ah, that was almost very bad. I've just been dancing with two squid guys for ages.
I
And I
made the
just
mistake.
finally killed one of them.
Like, 'cause most of my, other than my little shotgun thing, all my weapons are like long range. I stopped
Yeah, I
for a
feel it.
second. That was very, very unfortunate.
Okay, killed the other one too. So,
There's no
I
way
think all the big guys are dead for now.
changed history, but we can hypothesize.
I haven't seen
They
any
must
more
have
big
intervened
guys.
somewhere in the past few days.
I love how they say there's no way for them to know, but it's pretty obvious they just added Krakens.
In a few years of history, starting from the time that the ring appears, do they need the ring to act as a frontline base in order to do it?
I'm picking up boxes now. I have one guy on me. So he's pretty far now.
Okay.
I need boxes because I need my blast hole spear to be usable. My blast wind spear.
Oh, what color is the moon?
What?
What color is the moon?
The moon? That's green.
How did
I
they
don't
do
mind
that?
that. Why?
Like, how did they make the moon green? What did the aliens do? It's like, I see they've added a red tint to the sky, but what did they do to make the moon green?
What if it's not the moon and it's the sun instead? And then we're just in like a crazy timeline. Like we're just at a really weird point in time where the sun changed color. I guess that would be. Suns go from like blue, white to blue to orange. I don't know why they would go green. We're on another planet, and it's not an actual star. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty weird.
Then we find out the aliens are just like the evolution of all the environmentalists, tired of everyone being jerks.
Tunnel 3.
I'm trying to think if it is in fact going to be a tunnel.
We're underground.
Alright, then I'm bringing my assault aircraft.
And I'm bringing fire. Even though my fire is really bad, it's like level 17, it's still fire. So.
But anyone who gets near the ring dies. Isn't there some other way?
We can approach the ring from underground.
It is,
As long as we have backup.
you know, it's smart on like the asset development part to just
But we can't follow
reuse
you up to the surface.
everything.
That's fine. I know you much
Because like
better
we've
than
been on this map before. I guess they've always done that though. Just reusing maps a lot.
This way won't be easy.
It's not as bad as Dragon Age 2.
The nest at the end of the tunnel.
In Dragon Age 2, there was only one house map.
Now that's impressive.
And every time it was a dungeon, they would just adjust which door was the front entrance. And some of the doors they would lock. And that's the only difference. Every house was identical.
Isn't there anything we can do about this rubble?
And you went into house dungeons like 33% of the time. And then they had one
Did they just
cave
not
room.
have a budget?
The game had to be done
To think I'd see monsters here.
very quickly.
it would have been trouble if it made it into the city.
I'm just glad we exterminated it before it came to that.
So like
All right, let's move it on up.
certain things were way more fleshed out. Like the systems of the game were fleshed
No
out.
matter how long I live,
Um,
my love for my wife continues to make me suffer.
but they basically had like
It's not one of ours.
3 dungeons that they kind of recycled for almost the entire
If I
game.
found this, they'd surely swarm inside. They're coming from above.
What's happening up there? Watch out! Above us! They're coming through!
Go assault aircraft.
Not the underground city. I feel like going underground isn't even like that. I feel like there's no real good place now that I think about it. Because like underground, they tunnel better than we'll ever be able to tunnel. And the surface is theirs. And the water is theirs. So it's just kind of like there's no good place.
Yeah, originally our hiding places was underground in water because they didn't have a way of getting there, but they fixed that.
Yeah. And now they have krakens too.
Enemy confirmed.
So the air is even less safe. Because they wanted to put the krakens in the sky for some reason.
The only thing we have deep stocks of is bullets. Doesn't seem right.
Ooh, health.
That's it. Watch your health, okay?
You don't need to become a hero. Just survive. We're
I haven't even used my fire.
It's too dangerous. Let's get out of here.
What? Oh, different tunnel.
Do you know where the enemy is?
We're counting on you.
Monster alert.
Holy polies, why are these here?
To all survivors, we are attacking the ring today. Those who can fight, please join our operation. I repeat, those who can fight, please join our operation.
You mean there are other survivors?
I thought we were the only survivors in the area.
Attacking the ring? That's nuts.
I'll join the operation, but it's too reckless. There's no way it'll succeed.
I'll join.
Love
but
the,
it's a
like,
bad
yeah,
idea.
sure, I'll join, but it's never gonna work.
I guess I don't have anything better to do.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'll die anyway. Might as well, try something.
You know, on my screen, you're not flamethrowing those aliens at all.
Oh?
On my screen, you were flamethrowing the wall to the right of them,
There's a queen.
which was like blocking me from advancing.
Enemy sighted, but out of range.
Made it through.
Go.
It's
assault aircraft.
it's mutant queen. The weird ant. It's not a normal queen. This is a terrible place to fight a queen. Ow. Oh, I'm gonna die. Meow. Yeah, I think this is a U-fight. I don't think this fight is made for me. Ow! How am I getting hit and you're not? What?
I was dodging really good.
You can do it, DK. Ah. You did it! I did nothing to help. I don't think I did
I
at
got
all.
out of my mech and basically just dumped my stuns on it and the sniper, and then I just got in my little mech and just did the side by side.
Why'd you run away?
It's no argue with that.
We have casualties. Today is the day, I'm sure of it. We must get to the ring.
The lot of you are too impulsive. Does your life mean nothing to you?
It has to be done.
Then there's nothing else to say. Let's do it.
He's very easily convinced.
He's not
There's a
convinced,
king in
but
here.
like, he's like, oh, it's got to be done. All right, well, fine. It's a dumb idea. It just reminds me of like that Rogue One movie where the robot goes like, Cassian said I had had to come or something like that.
Oh, that worked pretty well. He died fast.
see the sun again.
I'm okay now. I've gotten back on my feet.
Oh, oops.
Living sure is tough.
I broke the
Wait, oh.
AI. I will fix this.
Are they not coming?
They couldn't get past my map.
Get
I
panicked.
blocked the tunnel.
Oh.
They were all trying to move my mech out of
It's
the way.
another cave. Look for an exit.
Enemies are spawning over here.
Let's see what enemies they are. Oh, they're bomb.
Let's attack. Grenadier!
Not threatening at all.
Grenadier's here! Damn it! Destroy them! Why would they chase us on the ground? Destroy them if you want to live! Grenadier!
Yeah. Bombs.
Shoot them before they close the door!
So, ow! So they're only dangerous when they die. Like before they die, they are not dangerous at all. It's only the loose bombs that like ever hit me. Oh, big bomb guy. A lot of bombs. No, I wouldn't go up there. Ow, that hit me. Oh, I was gonna go force him to explode, and I think you shot his bomb too effectively.
Sorry,
That's
that
so
explosion
great.
that just occurred almost killed me.
Is there health down there?
A very tiny.
There's like a ton of health up here. I'll let you run through it.
Oh, okay, yeah, you pick up the rest.
Used to this life.
Try to avoid picking those.
I'm sure we definitely wouldn't have needed any of the health I picked up in excess for any reason.
Right. I didn't bring health kits this time, so.
Nah, we'll be fine. Do you have anything? Do you have any big weapons?
You mean massive explosion weapons? No.
Like high single target?
Oh, yes.
Because there's that guy. Added a couple thousand. There we go.
Well, the thing with my stun thing, it doesn't matter where I hit him. It's the stun. It does full damage.
Interesting.
The sniper and the other weapons I have to like aim those, but the stun doesn't matter.
Right here. This is our target. We can resurface from here.
Queen or king? One of those two.
It's a huge horde of monsters. Too many to count.
King.
Open fire. We have a
Two.
tactical advantage from here. This must be the exit.
I have finally finished my IRL side objective, so I can fully focus on the game now. Ow. I have a lot of lasers on me. Yeah. I guess they're not really lasers, but they're close enough to lasers. Oh, I'm gonna die, I think. Nah, get me out. Nah, I didn't die. One of the kings is dead. I did a... Oh, you're dead? How did you die? What?
I was surrounded on both sides. It spawned spiders on both sides of the tunnel.
Okay, well... Out of all the missions to restart, I don't think that's too bad of one, because... Oh, no, it wasn't at all, because now I have new fires. I don't even know if I'll bring it, though. How much range does it have? That's the question. Ah, yeah, no, not worth it. I'm still gonna bring it up there.
I guess I will bring heals.
Heal... Really, I don't think heal would do too much. I just needed to not bring fire for this mission. Which is kind of sad, but...
I think instead of... I think this is one I definitely did want to bring bombers. That would have been really useful.
I'm getting the things I want, but they're not good yet. Like I have the power blade I want now. It's just terrible. It's not upgraded at all.
But anyone who gets near the ring dies. Isn't there some other way?
We can approach the
Brought
ring
my
from underground.
gigacopter.
As long as we have backup, we should be fine.
Fine. But we can't follow you up to the surface.
That's fine. I know you much better than you think.
What?
Oh wow! So one of the AIs said they would definitely not come up to the surface with us, and the doctor's like, "I know you better than that." And he's like, "What?"
Oh, there's a hole there. That's where they came.
Stay calm.
I am in their spawn. Why
You're
is
in the
there's like matting on the floor?
To think I'd see monsters here.
It would have been trouble.
Like you're
if
standing
we
on
made it to the
matting.
city.
I'm just glad we exterminated it.
Or
before it came
maybe
to-
iron plates.
All right,
Yeah.
Let's move it on up.
No matter how long I live, my love for my wife continues to make me suffer.
I assume maybe that's like
This hole.
a storage area because you don't want to damage the rock floor.
The monsters dug a hole that leads to a tunnel.
I mean, maybe it was.
They'd surely swarm inside.
It isn't now.
What's with this place?
Just in case you didn't know, they're coming from above.
They're coming from above, according to the scientists.
Yep. He knows that because they've done it before. Ow, ow, ow. Good man.
Protect the civilians in this.
It is kind of funny. He's like, in case you don't know, they're coming from above.
Oh my, that is if you've done this.
Ow! Good now. Like there's a bunch of enemies, right? And there's two dangerous. The only real threats are the red one. Killed one of the red one. Killed the other red one too.
I'd expect no less from you.
And now I wait at the door. Disappear, door. Give me things to stab, door. You know, this game has like surprisingly good clipping protection. Like, I feel like this game in EDF 5, you don't really clip through things very often.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know if you can do it intentionally. I'm sure there's a way, but...
Let's move.
It's too dangerous. Let's get out of here.
Monster alert.
Ah. Probably shouldn't have jumped in here immediately. But, yeah, I'm here now.
They're too far away.
Working pretty
Hold your
well.
fire.
Surprisingly.
Yes, sir. Come on, time to attack.
Ow.
To all survivors, we are attacking the ring today. Those who can fight, please join our operation. I repeat, those who
All who can fight, please join our operation.
There are other survivors?
I thought we were the only survivors in the area. Attacking the ring? That's nuts. I'll join the operation, but it's too reckless. There's no way it'll succeed.
Ah, this is the place with the queen. So you'll have to kill the queen again. Because I would die if I entered that room. Ow. I don't know how you don't die standing in the hallway.
You just have to dodge.
It takes up the entire hallway.
It doesn't. There's holes.
There are no holes for me, at least.
There are holes. It's very tiny.
Ow! Gonna be honest, I didn't expect you to shoot the wall like that.
I shot the wall after you died.
No. No.
You died, and then my explosion went off.
No.
Yeah. On my screen, you died, and then my explosion occurred.
Yeah, I don't know why that happens so often on
I
Galzin.
blew up your dead
But-
body, because I was very like I fired that because you died, like you died, and then I directed it to your dead body.
That's weird because you are the reason I died.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, I was just fine. I was standing still, and then your explosion killed me. Like I was just sitting there. Yeah, FPS. Top right. What's my FPS? It's locked to 60?
Makes sense.
Can I unlock it? Or is this one of those
This
games
is
that has
where
too much
the
stuff
physics system would break if you did that.
hide?
You can do it, but then
But like
you will
that's so
break
lazy.
the physics system.
They could easily
No,
make
like
it
that's a
not.
limitation of the physics in.
No, but you can make it not tied to FPS.
The thing is, the physics engine will still work at that 60.
Yeah, but you
And,
can
what
render
people will-
frames at a higher rate.
What will
For
happen though is
fine.
that you have a high chance of actually unsyncing the animation system.
Yeah,
The
but
physics
like,
engine. You have a higher chance of breaking the physics engine.
yeah, but like
And
games do
causing
this
nonsense.
all the time.
Bad games.
No, good games
Only
do that.
only bad games do that.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Because every game I play, like every game.
Well, most games you play don't have a physics engine. That's the thing.
That's
like,
not
developers
true.
got rid of physics
I
engines.
play Rocket League. Like that's the main game I play. That is
That-
just a physics
okay.
engine with a car and a ball.
No. Okay, so forgive me. We're using different terms for physics engine.
Okay, maybe.
Havoc
maybe.
is a physics engine, right?
Does your life mean nothing
If
to
your
you?
game doesn't have Havoc, it probably doesn't have a real physics engine.
Then there's nothing else to say.
What do you mean by physics engine?
A physics engine is a high-end, like there is only like 3 physics engines. And if you're not using that, you're not using a physics engine. You're just kind of cheating.
So what does that mean to you?
That physics engine controls everything. All the animations are dynamic and controlled by the physics engine. Most games nowadays no longer tie things to the physics engine so extensively.
Yeah, because you never want to tie anything to frame rate because
Well,
it
that
breaks
means
everything.
generally that means most of the animations are no longer tied to the physics engine, which means that
Close enough to shoot.
You
you're
can
not
still
at,
tie
you're-
them to physics objects.
You can, but it's not a physics engine anymore. It's not actually properly being calculated. It's
It is.
basically-
It's just not
going back to the
calculated
older
in the
way of
same
doing
way.
things before physics existed.
I am so confused.
Well, but you're still calculating it as a physics
No,
object.
you're not.
just
Not
doing it
anymore.
differently.
you're using some other calculations. You're using.
No, okay.
you're
Does
using
Unreal Engine
static.
have a physics engine built
No,
into it?
no, it does not.
Okay, so then how is it rendering physics objects?
It's using static animations. No,
So I just like-
Unreal does not have a physics engine.
So
At
then
all.
why would you ever use a physics engine if it's
Um,
just going to limit your frame rate to a set number on every device? Because that's a disaster.
Well, the thing is because that is truly dynamic animations. Nowadays,
but you
games
can
are
do
going
everything.
back to the. But
You
the
can
thing
do
is,
everything with that.
we're not.
as,
we're
like,
actually
other
we're
physics
actually
objects.
going backwards. That's the thing is we've gone backwards in technology. We've gone away from physics engines to static canned animations.
Grenadiers incoming.
Like we've gone backwards. We're going back in time.
What do you
to, like,
mean
the
by
80s.
that? Because like I would say every animation in this game is static.
This doesn't use canned animations as much, but I wouldn't say this would be like. I see you're dead.
Yeah, I was playing with the bomb.
That's unfortunate. Thankfully,
But-
I've played with
Oh.
my choices.
There is nothing that this game does that you couldn't do, I guess, without a physics engine.
Well, so if you don't have a physics engine, everything that you do is basically deception and smoke and mirrors.
I don't. The thing is, right? I don't believe you.
The thing is, this was one of those things where we've essentially gone back to more static animations instead of.
What do you mean by
physics
static
engine.
animation?
Okay, so static animations is like you call a specific animation.
Yeah.
For example, this game actually has static animations that are not tied to the physics engine, obviously. When you use the chat system and you use the salute or whatever, those are canned animations.
Walking animation is a static animation.
Not necessarily.
But it is in this instance.
Because it kind of because your character can turn and rotate. That's actually more of a dynamic animation.
Okay, but Unreal Engine can do that. And
It can use a dynamic engine, but it doesn't use the physics engine to perform the dynamic animation.
what is the physics engine doing that
So
is
the
so
physics
special
engine-
or relevant?
So the physics engine grabs that certain objects have certain level of weight, and thus when they get released, you know how you have ragdolls?
Yeah.
So ragdolls are usually a form of dynamic animations that are interacting with no clips. But a proper physics engine will actually give like the body weighs 50 pounds and like will associate different weights to different parts.
It's
And
so inefficient.
that was the new way of doing it. We just got rid of physics engines. We just basically deleted it. And more games are removing more and more of all physics from their games. And everything
Well-
is basically just either a canned animation. Yeah, actually, we're actually going more into canned animations nowadays, which is crazy to me.
Well,
We're going
okay,
back to like
problem-
40-year-old technology for animations.
Why the question here is why would you render your walking animation
Well, so
all of this added weight
well, if
when
you
you
don't,
can and bulk
actually
and an
results in
optimization
clipping
when you can
and stuff
just
like that.
play an animation that has a physics object attached to it?
The problem with it is that there will be no physics attached to it. A lot of the things is just flat out like smoke and mirrors.
That's not true because then every game in Unreal Engine would have you fall through the floor.
No, there's a no clip on the floor, but
It's collision, which is
yeah.
the physics
Which
object
actually
colliding
is
with
not
a
a
physics object.
engine. Actually, it's not physics. There's no physics in that. It's basically a layer. It's like a 2D wall that says no collide.
Yeah, but it's not colliding with
But it's
physics
not a,
objects.
It's not.
Like there's a
physics.
hitbox that's has
I know what you're
like
talking about.
momentum and speed, and it's saying physics object cannot go through here.
Actually, it doesn't do physics object. It doesn't let specific objects through.
Doesn't let
No
hitboxes that
collides have
a collision
existed
tag on them.
before physics engines. Like, no collides is an earlier tech.
Can I offer my 2 cents on this?
Sure, go for it.
What DK's saying doesn't make any sense,
Want to get closer? Now
so I agree with Rampage.
Okay, I know what he's saying. The problem is that doing it is incredibly inefficient, and if what he said about it requiring a set frame rate is true, just a terrible idea.
It's usually a limitation of specific physics engines. Like, some of them like are trapped to a certain number. But the thing is, the physics engine might be trapped to that frame rate, right? And what will happen is if your game is at a different frame rate than your physics engine, it can cause a desync in that. And then things will go through each other. The thing is, physics engines are in no way like the most efficient way of doing something. It's generally the more honest way of doing it.
But if this quote unquote honest way that is really not very different, it sounds like, it causes a bunch of problems, why would we ever use it?
Generally because, as I said, it's more expensive.
That's not a good thing.
But, you know how, like, say, like, you blow up a bridge?
Yeah.
Without a physics engine, that will always be the same exploding bridge, basically.
No.
Yes.
You would attach different objects and then have them render in as they're colliding.
I'm
Right,
saying,
so you would have,
like, if you
you'd have a
play
bunch
that
of
map,
objects, you would segment out the bridge, and then as it falls, it would collide in different ways.
See, the other way you would do it is that it would always be the same explosion, just copy paste it every time.
Yeah, but you don't
Because it would
have
just play
like,
its animation. It wouldn't react.
Like look at Teardown, right? Teardown has exactly what I'm saying. Everything is like in a segmented part. The whole point is that you can break stuff and it's dynamic.
Basically, dynamic things require some implementation of a physics engine. You can have an Unreal game that has a physics engine in it. Physics is one of the more, like, common ones.
But like it
Most
still
games rely
also
on that.
doesn't mean that you have to tie it to frame rate.
If it's not, it's the thing is, a lot of things can break.
If you do it wrong, like, yeah, maybe like it might look a little funny sometimes.
No.
if
I'm talking
green
about
tearing
like
it, but
large
otherwise
sections of
you're
it
gonna
will
have
fly out
some
of
people
control.
going faster than others.
No, what will happen is that objects will pierce because the
They'll
physics
do that
can no
anyway.
longer calculate.
They'll do that anyway.
If something is deterministic, would you say that it has a physics engine?
If it's deterministic, it doesn't have a physics engine. Now, I will take it back. Unreal does have kinesthetics, and I think that might be the basic Unreal physics engine, but it's very limited. I know physics and Havoc. Now, at some point, physics was bought up by NVIDIA and was actually a separate video card you had to have from your video card. Like, you had to put a special physics graphic card next to your graphic card in your computer to allow the hardware to calculate the physics. This is where you replace the software physics engine with a hardware physics engine.
So, tab, right? You're familiar with tabs?
Yes.
Does tabs have a physics engine?
I don't know. I'd have to check.
We can approach the ring from underground. As long as we have
So,
backup, we should be
okay,
fine.
so you're not as familiar with tabs as I assume.
I know what the game is, but I'd have to check to see if it had a physics engine. I don't know what software they used.
Either Unity or Unreal, I'm not sure. I ask because of how the characters move. Because it sounds to me like they're moving in what you would describe as a physics engine.
Why are you all
But-
dead?
Golden answer.
I don't know why I'm dead, I'm gonna be honest. But okay, your orbs, right? Or would you say this game has a physics engine, Deacon?
I'd have to check as well. I thought this one used Havoc, but I could be mistaken.
So,
Look into it closer. To think I'd see monsters here.
is there any way to tell from a gameplay standpoint if it's using a physics engine?
Yes, sometimes. It matters how well the devs hide it. Very obvious one. Any of the Arkham Knight games, like say, like Arkham City and Arkham Knight, those have no physics engine whatsoever, and rely specifically on canned animations.
This hole. Is this it? It's not one of our
They're so undynamic in Arkham, it's disgusting. You can literally catch Batman floating in specific directions because of how canned the animation is.
Just in case you didn't know.
Okay, so
Well, you
here's
can break a physics engine like that too. That's not that's
No,
just
no.
like designing
only,
it for
so
you.
no,
That's not a
Batman
physics engine.
only uses static animations. It just uses canned animation. There is no physics being calculated. Batman flies through objects.
Well, yeah, if you break it.
No, it just 100%.
Like that's what happens when you break it. The whole
No.
point is that
you hit punch, 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 punch. You're just playing canned animations. That's all it does. It just plays canned animations.
okay, so then this game can't have a physics engine because when I use my sword, I can clip through a wall. Like my hand clips through a wall. So this
That
game
may
can't have
not
a
be relied on. You can still use canned animation and still have a physics engine.
But so okay,
I
so
don't know if this
if
has a
the if the animations were tied to a physics engine,
This game definitely does have canned animations.
if my sword animation were tied to a physics engine, I would presumably move back when I try to swing against a wall.
If this
Right?
did have a physics engine, I think it would only be for destruction. So I don't feel like any of our actions are being limited by a physics engine.
No, but if there was a physics engine, right, and my sword animation was attached to that physics engine, when I swing against a wall, instead of clipping through it, like my character would move back or something, right? Like counteract my arm clipping through the wall, it would be pushed back.
Maybe. The thing that the physics engine would probably calculate way better is that your sword would have weight.
Okay, but what would happen?
That matters how the walls are set up in the map. I haven't seen how the developers laid out the map in their engine. Because generally, say like in Unreal, you would actually set up like no collision meshes to prevent collision.
Well, you would make all of the
Like
objects.
you literally have to like paint over all the walls like no collide.
That's very old. You would just make all the wall objects have collision.
Well, the thing is, you would make that, but you would still allow collision to a certain extent. Like,
To all survivors, we are attacking the ring.
that's one of those things where you like if you want to make sure that a character doesn't actually collide with a wall, you have to put colliders everywhere.
I repeat,
Well, yeah, you make the wall object have collision, and then the wall has collision.
object not having collision isn't good enough to actually fully prevent collision. That's why in some games you can kind of go in the wall a little bit, like your gun will go into the wall, or
Well,
your
yeah,
leg
the
will go
wall,
in.
because your gun doesn't have collision. Your character's hitbox
So-
is probably a beam.
So let's say your legs, right? Your legs might be able to go through parts of it, not because it didn't set a collision. Is that sometimes you have to put another level of collisions
No,
blockers.
it's because
over the
your character's hitbox is most likely either a square or a beam, which your model goes outside of.
Generally, the hitbox is around the entire model, like a giant square. But even if the walls prevent collision, mappers will actually add another level of no collision.
I mean,
They
maybe.
they will add specific areas to prevent collision. It's like invisible walls, if you will.
Yeah, but that's really unnecessary.
It is absolutely necessary for certain situations because there's a possibility that characters will still clip through, even if they shouldn't be able to.
That realistically should only happen in situations where physics are tied to frame rate and the person has really low frame rate, or the person is going so incredibly fast that the rendering technique used to...
That is a possibility,
check
but there's
collision.
other things that cause it. Like, for example, say the original Super Mario Brothers game that was on the NES. It was possible for characters to actually jump through walls.
That's just not true, but okay.
Yes, it was.
Well,
it
it's
requires
like-
you to jump at the wall in a very specific way.
Okay.
It's like,
I need you to explain what you mean exactly.
Okay, in the original NES Super Mario Brothers, there was a technique at jumping at the wall, in which you could jump through it.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But what do you... Jumping at the wall and going through it are two very different things.
It has to be done.
Are you
That-
saying that it doesn't have a physics engine or it does?
I'm saying that you would jump at the wall, and you would go through it if you jumped at it just in the right way.
see, I'm assuming what's happening here is the animation of jumping is putting, like, you're starting the point of the animation on one side of the wall, and the animation is moving the character to the other side, and then when the animation ends, you're on the other side of the wall, is my guess from what I've...
Now,
been
of course, if
told.
the game had a physics engine, you could do all kinds of crazy things. Like, oh boy, that Schedule 1 game, where someone, takes an object and picks it up and stands on it, and then floats away.
Yeah, okay. So, you played Repo. Repo has a physics engine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I can guarantee you all they did was put something, put an object and give it collision. And then,
No, because the objects have
ascribe
different weights.
a series of events.
The physics engine is the one that calculates, how hard it is to move an object. So the physics engine is the one
I
calculating.
think I kind of understand what you're saying. The problem is that should never ever be tied to frame rate.
It sometimes has to be based on how the game is. I'm not saying it always has to be that way, but
It would only ever not be tied to frame rate, or only ever be tied to frame rate in the very, very early stages of development. Because tying it to frame rate is just a horrible idea.
well, the thing is, you would have to have another frame rate, like a simulation speed.
What does delta time do? That's what people use. What does delta time do?
I've heard the term. I don't know what delta time is off the top of my head.
Because what delta time does is, well, I know its function. I don't know how it does its function, but it ties. It's how you make things not tied to frame rate.
But I'll be honest, a lot of games do tie things to the frame rate.
And everyone, every time that happens, it's a problem. It's not a good thing. No one likes it.
I assure you, there's even worse. Some games actually have their programming tied to the frame rate.
Yeah. And no one likes that either. These aren't good things. They shouldn't happen.
Hey, Kuro, just wait for a second.
There's
Or
so
not.
much health in here, by the way. It's very unnecessary.
But the thing is, for physics engines, you'd have to separate it out as a simulation speed and do it like Space Engineers does. That's how you calculate it away from frame rate, is by creating a simulation speed.
I mean, maybe that's what Delta Time does, right? But
The
you
only
would
problem
always
with
want to do that, though. You never want to
there
attack
are
frame rate.
way more problems with that, though, because it can basically break the server it's on.
Well, the problem is if you have it tied to frame rate. If you have it tied to frame rate. Okay, so Delta Time measures the duration of a frame, apparently, and then describes, and then does a whole bunch of
But a
math.
frame should
Okay.
only be 30 seconds.
So basically, what
that's
Delta Time
an
does is
NTSC joke.
if you're running like 240 FPS, it does a bunch of math to make it to make all the objects run the same as 60 FPS, probably just using a ton of division. Okay, that's actually a really neat way to do that. I like that.
Androids!
But as I said, the tying it to a simulation speed is another solution, but it comes with consequences of its own. It can break the game and server.
So there's no reason to not use Delta Time and have it like not really tied to frame rate. It's not tied to frame rate anymore. It's tied to math, which is based off of the duration of a rendered frame, or based off of the duration of the interval. That's the word.
Usually, the physics engine still can't go past its frames per second.
Well, you would never design it like that. You would never design it to like operate at twice the speed of the graphics card's ability.
Well, usually it's hard timed at say 60 or 75.
Yeah, so like you would do if you wanted to render frame, assuming a 60 FPS, right? Assuming 60 FPS is your like native speed, right? Then you would set that up, and then use Delta Time and have it no longer be tied to the user's frame rate, because it's just going to divide your the interval between the user's frame rate and your desired FPS, so like 60, and then it's not gonna like the problem that a lot of bad games run into is when someone uses higher FPS, like they'll move faster because they haven't like fixed that, and that's a problem. that's why Delta Time is a big deal.
Interesting enough, there are still games today that are considered high-end good games that the encounter rate of enemies is based on your frame rate.
Yeah, but that's a problem. Like, you can still, like, I can make a story game, or even, like, a really good, like, competitive game, and have a problem, like, in its code. Like,
Yeah.
I can still make a part of it portable and have, like, people genuinely perceive it well.
Just as long
But,
as you
like,
remember
people
to
will
support...
also complain about that, because tying the FPS is terrible. It's like, Rocket League has a physics engine, right? It has a physics engine, but it's not tied to frame rate. It's tied to the server, technically, so Rocket League is kind of a bad example, because they...
I don't know, I'd have to look to see how Rocket League uses its physics engine, if it has one.
It has one. They imported one.
Gotcha. I
But
don't know. I don't know much about Rocket League.
Rocket League's kind of a bad example because they do some really weird stuff to minimize cheating. There was one spider,
Di-
but
Girl,
like there are other games. I remember there was like there was a PvP game based around like bow and arrows, like bows and arrows, and it was tied to frame rate. And if you
I'll be back. Thank you so much.
like
Lieutenant.
unlock the FPS, which isn't generally too difficult to do, like everything would break. Like the arrow speed would be different and the walking speed would be different. And that's like that just shouldn't happen. You can avoid that. At that point, it's not even like the problem of using a physics engine, which I think everything has a physics engine to some extent.
a
'Cause
lot of
otherwise-
games nowadays are getting rid of that and going strictly to calculating canned animations.
Well, the thing is, right? How are you measuring speed?
They just basically that doesn't require a physics engine though.
So, how do you measure momentum?
You just simply measure it inside the engine, not the physics engine, the game engine.
So, isn't the game engine then a physics engine because it's measuring speed
No.
and momentum and like that's physics?
No, you're crazy, Rampage.
Like that's
Unfortunately,
just physics. Like it's measuring momentum.
It's not properly calculating momentum in physics.
What does that mean?
Is okay. Because like I'm thinking like risk like okay, we can go with like no that's more of an animation risk brain too is. Yeah, Spider okay, so okay, I think I understand what you're saying. I think. So like the PS4 Spider-Man game. Would you say the swing like the PS4, yeah, PS4 Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just called Spider-Man or something like that. The swing for like just the like base swing, would you say that is tied to a physics engine?
No, probably not.
Okay, we can both agree on that. The reason I say I don't think that's tied to a physics engine, as you've explained it, is because your speed is kind of set throughout the thing. It's like a set speed that's, and like if you hit a wall, and then like you'll stop moving, but if you move out of the wall, you'll just maintain all your speed, right?
Yeah.
So you can
Guess this is all humanity.
measure momentum.
We won't
So like,
stop.
you know,
Those primers don't
you
feel
hit
humanity.
wall,
We'll fight back again.
wall stops you, and then when you move away from the wall, you don't have speed, right?
Yeah.
You can do that just like in Unreal Engine. Like you don't have to do any extra work. That's just, you can just do that.
Yeah, you could set the player move speed to say like 25% normal or something like that.
Well, you
And
just
then you hit
add
a
speed
wall
as
and-
you go, right? It's like
You don't even need to add speed. You could just have it as a game mechanic of at the start you have 100% like move speed and you reduce the move speed.
Yeah. Or like you increase it as, you know, time goes on. But like that's physics.
That's not physics. That's just like saying, oh, make the player move speed 25%. Have it
That's-
slow down. It
the-
simulates physics at that point.
Okay, but that's what a physics engine does. It simulates physics.
it really simulates physics versus just like a mathematical calculation.
What?
No, it's using math
Okay.
to simulate physics.
It's simulating it in the sense of lying about the physics.
Can we take a break? What on earth is that thing?
That's a cannon?
It's a Kraken.
Yeah,
Why?
it is in fact a Kraken. It's called the Kraken.
No, I get that, but what?
It's a
It's
Kraken.
Okay.
It's your new friend.
What are the flying squid things in the air?
Kraken's friends.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they're bottom feeding Kraken. I think that's what they were called.
Starting to dawn on them. Little by little,
Yeah, that really explains a lot.
don't have much time.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Be our last
so how is a physics engine doing anything different from just like Unreal
So-
Engine?
Well, I think Unreal Engine relies on something called kinesthetics, and I don't know how kinesthetics works. But what I'm talking about is there's a difference between actually calculating physics and then just like making up a random number. Like, oh, just decrease player move speed.
Well,
You know, it's like something
you're
set
just
in
adding
stone.
another step.
Well,
Like you're doing
then
the same thing. You're just making it more difficult.
if like one of them is going to calculate angles and stuff like that, and the other one is just going to just be a pre-planned momentum and loss of momentum. So we've pre-calculated how much speed you would lose on a swim, and we're just going to follow that all the time, and it will always be the same number. And why is everyone dead?
We should probably just reset because I messed up my first shot.
Okay, let's reset then. This sounds terrible.
Guess this is all
The problem that I have, DK, is the only place I can imagine,
feel honored to participate.
like,
Those
every game I think of
fight back again.
has a
As our last chance.
quote-unquote physics engine, as it's been described to me. Like, I can't, like, even
But today is the day
even like Mario,
to destroy that
like
device.
Mario Maker or whatever, right? That to me has a physics engine as you've described it.
Take them out as you advance.
And I'm like, so what is different about this mystical physics engine
But there's a glowing red
that
device directly under the ring.
makes some things just not have one? Even though they're doing like the same, even though they have the same
Okay,
effect.
so there is one that is it an approximate simulation of physics or a pre-planned equation?
By that.
Unfortunately, that's where like the line gets drawn, because if it's pre-planned, in which it will happen a very specific way every single time.
Then
There's
it's a
no-
cutscene.
No, unfortunately not. But cutscenes can actually be dynamic.
Yeah, and those are really funny, but they're for the most part just like cutscenes built into
Well, the
the
thing
game.
is, like, being dynamic doesn't necessarily mean a physics engine.
We recreated it.
So then what does a physics engine have that's different?
Very shiny.
Okay, so Rocket League uses a modified version of Unreal's kinesthetic physics engine.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like Unreal 3 though, or probably Unreal 2, honestly.
It uses Unreal 3.
Yeah, it's built in Unreal 3, but I know they imported it.
Hey,
Yeah,
we should be Earth Defense Force 9.
Yeah, we're playing Earth Defense 9.
Hey, I'm really confused. Do you think that Mario, the thing that you brought
Oh.
up previously, has a physics engine?
No. Probably not.
Well, I brought that up, and
But
No,
if
no,
you
like,
understood
like,
Mario Maker, you'd be more scared about how Mario Maker works.
So, like,
yeah,
DK brought
but
up
okay,
the Wii
sure, but like,
thing. But I don't understand. Why do you not think that has a physics engine?
yeah,
It probably doesn't.
how?
So
How?
if you understood how Mario Maker worked, you'd be very
No,
scared.
I'm not talking about Mario
Then,
Maker. I'm
like,
talking about the NES.
How does it not have a physics engine?
I'm talking about the NES Mario in 1985.
That had no physics engine whatsoever.
Can you explain how it doesn't have a physics engine?
Physics engines didn't exist back then. The NES would explode.
Not true.
How so?
I do not know enough about it, but I feel like you're wrong.
Physics engines did not exist back then. But anyway, do you know Mario Maker actually stores
Hang on, I gotta- hang on.
instructions
You're okay. So
I
physics
gotta look at this.
A physics
into the
engine
map
is-
coordinates itself?
A physics
that's
engine
the
is a
craziest.
computer program that simulates physics, often used in computer graphics, video games, and film. It uses mathematical algorithms to calculate momentum, motion, collision, interaction. How is something not a physics engine if it uses math to change the physics of something and update the collision and interaction between objects? If that's exactly what's happening, how is that not a physics engine based off the definition of a physics engine?
Because it did not do any of those calculations?
But it did.
No, it didn't.
Oh, it does.
No, it essentially, when you press jump, there was a, like,
It applies a set velocity to your character to make you go up, and then renders like every frame to like it says, okay, we're rendering a frame. What's happening? Oh, they have this amount of velocity. They're going this far up, and then we'll take some of it away because like simulated gravity.
I believe the original Mario basically just, like, you pressed the jump button, and it played a jump animation.
It's not true.
That's just not true.
Well,
If that
you
was
would
true, then
play
you'd
through
go
the
through
different
things.
sprites, essentially.
That's not true. Okay, so looking up, does the first Mario game have a physics engine? The first thing is, yes, it does. It has momentum, trajectory, it has different velocities, it has directional changes. It is not a very it does not have a
This
complicated
game
physics,
tied to a physics engine.
but it does have a physics engine.
So, because a physics engine is a middleware, it is not like the game engine itself. If the game engine is calculating itself, it is not a physics engine.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, DK, does this game have a physics engine?
Let me check.
Or let me rephrase it. Is the movement, just the movement in this game, tied to a physics engine?
What game is this?
This is, I guess, EDF 9 now.
Because the way you were describing how pressing the jump button works in the first Mario, it's just not true.
Oh, it uses the Havoc physics engine.
See, the problem that I have, DK, is that everything uses a physics engine. There's just like different levels of what you're calculating. Like, if you play, like Space Invaders, right? I would still say that has like a really basic physics engine. It's just like really basic. It's not calculating momentum, just like how fast you're going, because you can just like go left and right immediately. There's no cooldown. But like the bullets have
You must be the
like
newbie.
they're physics
Shall we
objects.
start?
They have collision.
Our job today is to move cargo.
If you
We're gonna
hit
move the
the
cargo
bullet,
from the basement to the ground
you take
floor.
I think you have
What
live
you're
or
wearing is
do
a
you,
I have no
powered
idea how it
exoskeleton.
works.
It has
you
great
I'm
speed,
remembering
safe,
live,
all
right?
by
If you hit
yourself.
the bullet,
I heard it was
if your
developed for military use and has the same power
hitbox
output as a tank.
interacts with the bullet's hitbox, you die. That means there's a physics engine, because the bullet has to be capable of like moving, and you have to be capable of moving, and it has to be able to register
By the way,
collision,
weapon.
and
For our mission, it
like
could
it's
be
a really
dangerous.
basic move. Yeah, but it's not.
I
Let's
think
get to
that's
work,
too
then.
simplistic to be considered a. You know.
I'll show you the way.
But also remember, physics engines are middleware that calculate physics.
Why'd you bring that?
Monsters! Run! Run!
Don't worry, it's fine. Huh? What happened?
How
The lights will return to normal soon.
how is it too simple?
It seems like you don't mind much. Keep up. The bottom of the base is huge. It's easy to get lost. I'll open the door now.
I believe
Like,
that
what
is
is-
just pure.
What
pure
is the
programming.
threshold for something to go from not a physics engine to a physics engine?
So a physics engine is a separate engine from the game that handles the calculation of physics.
This way. Watch out for incoming
Why does it have to be separate?
powered exoskeleton hits like a truck. You don't want to
Because, as I said, that's the thing. It's a middleware. It's like this game uses
What
Havoc.
happened? He was eaten! George was
Right.
eaten!
Don't worry. Soldiers love making
I find it interesting that we have started at the start of EDF 5.
So this game does have a physics engine, right?
Havoc.
Yeah, we can both agree on that, and I can agree with that because of how movement is done. Like I can see that it's rendering like momentum and all of that.
I don't know what
Every
particular
game
parts
does
of-
that.
Havoc calculates like, for example, my big bullet, how it bounces and rolls and interacts and like carves out buildings. That's all being calculated by Havoc.
It worked.
Yeah, but like,
I don't
remember
believe your
everything.
character animations are necessarily tied to Havoc.
well, not the animations, the way that the character moves. Like, if I go
Tragic
forward
memories keep piling up.
and then try to move
To
back,
the next.
it
But I
takes
still push
time.
on.
My
We're hitting them
character
where it hurts.
is
that right?
very momentum based. This is physics, right? It takes a while to like turn and gain speed, and those are physics.
No need to be nervous. Behind this.
If I hit a wall,
Huh?
it's like it doesn't do anything, right? It's physics. My character's speed is based entirely off of momentum. So I know that
Which
it has to have some
I
level
know
of a
Havoc
physics.
definitely calculates a lot of its animations and has like usually an FPS limit to it.
What? Why did I get bit by a
Wait.
normal ant?
Can gray ants grab things now?
Apparently.
Anyway,
Also, welcome to EDF 5.
this is ADF 9 actually.
Yep, 9 now.
EDF 9-5.
Anyway, the reason why I asked about deterministic games, TK, is I'm sure we can all agree that Trackmania has a physics engine, right, Rampage?
Yeah.
You agree with that? But
There's
it is
no way it doesn't have a physics in it.
it is a deterministic game. If you put in the same input, you will have the same output. That's what deterministic is. But
It's
you're
corrupted.
saying is yeah, okay. Well, you're saying that deterministic games cannot have a physics engine, but it does.
No, I don't mean that at all.
But you said that. You said that. You don't mean that at all. You said that. I don't know what else you could mean.
okay. Okay. So Trackmania uses a different kind of
He
physics
said-
engine called a deterministic physics engine.
Okay, but so does
That's a
Rocket League.
physics
You said that has a physics engine.
Actually, Rocket League might use a modified version of Havoc as well.
It's still a physics engine.
Yeah, it's like it's still a physics engine.
Yeah.
It's
I did. I
but
wasn't.
it's
I
a
wasn't
physics
fully. I didn't know people were using deterministic physics engines. I apologize. That's a. I just like. Had
I
to
would
look
be
that
worried
up.
if they weren't.
Most of them aren't. But,
That's not a. I don't consider that a good thing. If I have the physics object and it hits another physics object, I want it to do the same thing every time.
oh gosh. So a deterministic one is based on like apparently time.
What do you mean by that, and why do you sound like that's bad?
For example, Trackmania is apparently based, at least like from the like small amount of look, it's based on like every 0.2 seconds or something like that.
That's
Okay, that's
not true, but I don't.
I mean, that's what I've read about Trackmania right now. But I'm also trying to play this game. So I apologize. I'm trying to look these things up as you mention them.
yeah.
Oh,
Fair.
Trackmania is definitely frame based.
Okay.
If your
yes,
FPS
it it requires frame rate, but if you change your frame rate, the physics don't change because they've.
Yeah, I feel I've definitely had a lag spike where I'm getting 0 FPS. The game still continues, therefore it's not.
Like it's not. It doesn't. It. Your frame rate is irrelevant to the physics engine.
It's a powered exoskeleton. You knew about this place? Looks like the equipment's ready. Let's
Like every game has.
You
Like,
came here knowing this
I
was a
firmly
threat.
believe
Didn't you?
now more than ever that every game has a physics engine.
No.
Okay, well,
Every
some games-
3D game at least.
Some games might calculate it internally inside the engine, or they use just flat out can down measurements.
Okay, when you say they calculate it, what is it? What are they calculating?
They're simulating physics.
No, what are they
without
calculating?
They are calculating animations.
That. What does that mean?
They're faking what a physics engine might do.
So they're simulating or faking, as you put it. Physics.
So imagine. Let me say. So imagine you have an orange, right? And you have an
Uh-huh.
orange in a video game. If you eat
Yeah.
the orange in the video game, does that feed you?
No. Wait,
Very
what?
good. So
I don't-
here, to explain that, the idea is you can accomplish the same thing, right? But not necessarily how you implement how you get that orange changes things. Because in real life that would feed you, but in the video game it would not.
What's your point?
Real versus fake.
Okay, but
you can,
how
you
is
can fake a lot of that stuff.
okay? If I have Mario on his 2D plane, and I apply some amount of velocity upwards, and it's just like a number, right? I type in, like, you know, this isn't real code, but like, when a button is pressed, add 19 momentum up, or 19 velocity up, right? Is that a physics engine?
No.
Why?
So what do I have to do to
So-
make adding that momentum adding that velocity of physics engine.
So, like, the idea is the physics engine would go, Mario weighs 30 pounds. This is the gravity in this scenario. You know, the object... I think Mario Maker might have a physics engine of some sort. Because, like, for example, you could pick up a box and throw it. And the boxes and items have different weights. The seesaws, for example.
The sergeant has a license.
In Mario Maker, for example, you can put an object on one side of the seesaw, and it might have different weights and move the seesaw accordingly, because weight is being calculated. Gravity is being calculated.
That's just a different type. That's just a physics engine that does something else.
A physics engine calculates gravity and weights of objects.
That's not
those
true.
are also just constants that are being, like, in this, like, okay. So, if we have another variable for gravity, and we subtract that from his upwards momentum for, you know, every whatever amount of time, right? So every time we render it, we subtract gravity from upwards momentum. Does that now become a physics engine because we're calculating gravity?
Potentially. Or it could just be calculating physics. Like, a lot of these is kind of semantic, but there's only
a physics engine.
There are only
It's like
like
the only
30
thing you
physics
could
engines.
convince me doesn't have a physics engine. It's like a visual novel.
The
Oh,
thing
no.
is, you're combining animation to be physics, and
No, I'm not.
animation
I
is
don't think
not
I
physics.
described an animation to anything in my example.
Yeah, what you've described a lot is animations. It's like animations is physics. I'm like, not
Can you
really.
explain, can you just explain an animation that we? Okay, can you give an example of an animation that we talked about?
For example, say Mario's jump in the original Mario. That
That's
was
not an
just
animation.
It's an animation.
I'm not.
Which- It is
but
not.
I used, say, like Batman Arkham, like Arkham Knight as a non.
That's not an example. That's not an example we brought up.
Okay.
I brought it up.
When
But
when
I already
brought up
mentioned
his
one.
jump, I want you to know this, right? There is a hitbox, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a sprite on that hitbox. Like they've just like they have the hitbox, and then they have a sprite that they just put on the center of the hitbox. And then they said when hitbox moves, sprite moves. That's it. Right? So if the hitbox moves, because it's a physics engine, the sprite will move with the hitbox. The sprite just follows the hitbox. So that's a physics engine. Like
What
that's
you're describing is a more
Nothing's
basic
changed.
physics engine versus a
It's
complex.
still a physics engine.
No,
But like nothing's changed. The
it's
fact that
terminology. It's terminology.
the
So-
sprite being there doesn't make
So-
what's
so-
happening any different. There's just like there's a sprite on it, and the sprite has an animation.
So the thing is, you're taking like animations and saying that's a physics engine, when
No,
sometimes
I'm not.
that's not
I'm
a
saying that
physics
there's an
engine.
object. I'm saying there's a physics object that has a hitbox.
It doesn't
there's a
necessarily
sprite
have
on it.
physics being calculated, though. That's the thing. Some of
It
that stuff
does.
is just an animation play.
Yeah. Okay.
Colliders don't
This
make a
what my
physics
character is doing right now. Yeah, I would say, like, that is an animation.
Probably
And then
canned
there is
animation.
teleporting the character forward
Yeah.
slightly. I would agree with.
I call that a canned animation. You can also
Right?
have dynamic animations, but that's still not. That,
So-
that still doesn't.
So when
require
I
physics.
press right click, my sprite that is attached to my character's hitbox, my physics object, right? The sprite attached to it moves. It plays its animation, right? My physics object, the thing that actually matters, the hitbox, doesn't change. It's irrelevant.
Monsters waltzing around inside the base.
It's just playing an animation. Nothing is moving.
To think we'd be attacked from within the base. I need a situation report.
When Mario jumps, there's a physics object and the physics object moves, and because the physics object is moving, the sprite that's attached to it, the thing that, plays the animation, moves with it.
So, like, as I said, like, some of that would be just considered a dynamic object. But anyway, there is only like 30 or so odd physics engines in existence.
I will ask my brother to make a physics engine right now.
That is actually really hard.
For example, so Advanced Simulation Library is one, Box 2D is one, Bullet is one, Chickmunk's Physics Engine, Jolt Physics, Newton Game Physics, Open Dynamics Engine, POW,
Do we really need this thing?
Physics Abstraction Layer,
Like it must be pretty
Physics, Project Chrono, Rapier,
Should have a lift.
Sofa,
We go.
Tokamak Physics Engine,
Activate the lift.
PhysZ, which is a public domain physics engine,
I help deliver
Digital
vehicles here.
Molecule Matter,
the
Havoc,
thing is,
Chaos, which is being made by
Get on the
Epic
lift and
Games,
take it up.
Vortex, AGX Multiphysics, Algadoo
We'll take a
by
different route to the surface
AlgVorks
while
Simulation
searching for
AB,
survivors.
and Rubicon by Valve.
Okay, alright. I have a question. So, a bit ago, I have this calculator, and you can code in Python in it. And I was like, hey, my brother, could you please make something silly? So he made it so there was a box, and it bounced around the boundaries of the screen. It calculated velocity, it calculated gravity, and you could edit these variables. And every time that it hit a wall, it added a velocity. Would you say that that's a physics engine?
No, that's just being
Wha-
handled by the game engine itself. Right?
okay, but
It's not
why?
even- It's a calculator.
But why is it not a physics engine? What
Alright,
about
yeah, so,
that is not
okay,
a
let
physics
me
engine?
let me start over with a full description. You ready? Physics engine is a computer software that provides an approximate simulation of physical systems, including
Yeah, that's what his calculator game is
classic
doing.
dynamics, including rigid body dynamics, including collision detection, soft body dynamics, and fluid dynamics. It's typically a middleware engine in which the simulations are in real time.
All of that is true for what he just described, except he didn't code in fluid or
The term
other-
is used
soft
more
body.
generally to describe any software system for simulating physical phenomena such as high performance scientific simulation.
The thing is, like, DK, what he described is a physics engine. It's just a very simple physics engine.
Uh,
'Cause it's
so what he's doing
it's
is
simulating physics.
not, okay, yes, it is simulating physics, but it is not dynamically simulating physics.
It is though.
It's like pre-calculated physics.
No,
But
it's not.
It's not. It's just not because it didn't. I mean, even this would be a physics engine, and then it's just for playing it. But it didn't. Like there's no. You didn't. The game doesn't know when the thing is going to hit a wall, but when it hits the wall, it does something. That can't. There's no. It can't be pre-calculated because it hasn't hit the wall yet, so it hasn't done anything.
So, for example, say when the character is about to hit the wall, it opens up a calculator and calculates how you're going to hit that wall, and then punches at it.
It does.
Yeah. Like that's what it's happening.
That could be maybe a rudimentary physics engine,
But that's what he just described.
I said it could be. I don't. We're kind of going outside of like my knowledge base.
It's
Why would that not be?
Why would it not be?
Why would that not be a physics engine?
Because most likely what he's doing is basically a preset, already calculated number.
It's not though.
It is. It's an already
Okay.
known calculation.
No, it's not. If I hand you your calculator, ask you to run a program, and magically it freezes somehow, and I asked you what was going to happen when the funny little box touched the wall, you would be able to tell me what happens. Yes or no?
Okay,
I could give you a canned response of what it would do, right? But the difference
hang on.
is the physics engine would make hundreds of calculations there, not just one calculation.
It's very, very
For
simple.
no reason.
Only makes
Okay, hang on. So, okay, if instead of modifying momentum, right? So, because what he described is like the box hits the wall, and then momentum in the opposite direction is added.
it's not added. A random number is generated, and that gets applied.
Okay, so it's not actually doing any math.
I mean, it is because it calculates like the entrance angle, and then adds a random velocity.
Our troops are in combat. We should back them up. Follow me.
But what are those numbers based off of?
1 through 10, or
So,
actually, no, it's
so,
negative 10.
so generally, like let's go to like the physics engines I'm more familiar with, like Half-Life 2's physics.
Uh-huh.
Every material has a weight to it. Like the physics engine actually knows that this material is metal, it cannot float, it sinks. So if an object is made of metal, it's going to sink. If this object's made out of wood, it's going to float. And it's light. Unless it's very big, and then, you know, that the weight of it would be recalculated. But, you know, the whole, like, 3 tons of feathers and 3 tons of iron balls, you know, they're the same weight.
Okay, so imagine I add.
No. Okay, so
Keep the monsters away from the powered exoskeletons.
because it has another variable attached to it, which is this weight thing, right? We've attached a variable to every object, and we've called it weight. And every object has this variable now. And when we make a calculation to determine the velocity that's added, we do some math with this weight variable, right?
Yeah, and fluid and obviously gravity.
Right. So okay. So we have a gravity constant, because there's no way they're putting calculus in this physics engine. So we have a gravity.
A proper physics
constant for
engine will
gravity.
actually have a floating calculation for all this.
We have a constant for gravity, and we have a variable for weight, and then we have the amount of momentum we're applying, and then presumably we have the amount of momentum we already have, right? So all we've done compared to the calculator that Kuro has is added a few more variables and then done more math.
Well, the thing is, Kuro's calculator can only do like one calculation, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
Because it's
But
very-
imagine,
just add
imagine,
more variables.
No, I'm saying is imagine if that calculator just kept running more and more calculations,
But why?
because you would
So,
have
like,
to.
It's not. I mean, okay, if you wanted to like simulate friction or air resistance, you just ascribe another like you just make a loop that reduces the amount of velocity by a set amount. Like you just make a loop that removes, like, if on ground, remove X percentage of speed.
So that the idea is telling the game to say remove X amount of speed is taking the physics calculation out.
How? That is the physics calculation.
Yeah, that is the calculation. I don't.
It's you're essentially feeding it the numbers it's going to use, basically.
But you're feeding it a number. Okay, so the only difference I'm hearing is what it does with the number immediately after. Because there's a number that we're giving it. And for Kuro, we're just running with that number, right? We have our number and we're running with it. What it sounds like a physics engine to you is doing is it's doing math after with that number. So it's like, okay, we have this funny number here. You know, let's divide it by some ratio according to weight. And then, okay, this is upwards momentum, so let's subtract gravity. And then, okay, cool. Now we have our super epic physics engine approved number. But that's like just the same thing.
They're giant
It's just
pylons.
we took a number that we got, right? And then we did some math with it instead of
Attack the monster!
just like using that number as our baseline.
So essentially, like one of those is the physics engine would know the number that it would need. Like it would do the calculations. It would,
But how?
because it's actually interacting with the game engine.
So no, I
As I
disagree
said,
with you.
the physics
I disagree
engine
with
knows
you.
how much that object weighs,
That's fine.
and it also knows all the information that's going on in the game engine. And
So does
it's basically
Kuro's calculator. He just didn't. He could easily ascribe a weight variable that.
so what he would be doing would be incredibly bad, because he'd have to stop the game every like 1 second to recalculate.
Why?
Why?
Because you're calculating per frame, right?
Yeah. So is
So-
the physics engine.
The physics engine is doing those calculations very quickly.
Okay.
Kuro's Kuro's calculator would have to stop the game every like second.
No.
Yes.
What?
Are you programming it to dynamically pool those numbers and recalculate?
What is that? Okay. Hang on. Right. So DK, when you have a physics object in Half-Life, right?
Yeah.
And you do something. It doesn't matter what. You do something to apply momentum to it, right? You hit it with another object. You walk into it. You pick it up. Any of these, right? When you do that, you're giving it a number. And then it's making a calculation. It's going in and doing a bunch of math with that number. That's it. Like you've given it a
doing
number.
any of that. It's finding the number that should be there, and then calculating it every frame, every like frame, and doing this dynamically, and making adjustments and sending instructions between the game and your graphics card.
Yeah, that's what Kuro's thing is doing.
Kuro is doing a single calculation, unless he's continuously programming it to recalculate and take new numbers from the game engine. His calculator can't talk to the game engine. If his calculator can now talk to the game engine and grab new information and then send it to the video card and get information back from the video card, because that's what the physics engine is doing. It's like talking between the game engine and your graphics card and CPU.
Okay, so wait, is the physics engine even? What? Okay, hang on. All right. Okay. So when I hit a box with another box in Half-Life, right? And that box moves, right? So we have this box that we're applying momentum to by like picking it up and moving it, which is, you know, a number, right, that we have. And then we hit another box with it. The physics engine gets gets out its calculator and then goes, okay, this thing went this fast, right? And we have our weight variable and like a friction variable maybe. So we can say that this amount of momentum was applied to the box. Or this amount of force was applied to the box, and we can add this amount of momentum, right? And then every frame, it's going, okay, we have this amount of momentum. Are we in water? No, we're not in water. Okay, are we on the ground? No, we're not on the ground. Okay, so then we just have to subtract this percentage for error, for like simulated error resistance, right? Really, and we do that every frame. Really, all that's different from Kuro's calculator game is that we've added more variable and made it look every frame, like render every frame to subtract a set amount of velocity because of simulated error resistance.
Yeah,
That's the only
unfortunately, it would be more than that though. But
But like, okay, so then how is
so
this
understand,
like a variable
the physics
limit?
engine,
Like,
the physics engine is talking with the graphics card and it's crunching. Your graphics card is actually crunching, and your CPU is crunching the numbers.
yeah, but
And then
it's
it talks
doing
to the
that
game.
for
So it's
Kuro's-
basically talking to the game engine and your graphics card and CPU.
But so, like Kuro's game is talking to.
So is his
its
calculator
internal program
talking to like figuring out how much that box weighs?
It can't.
Well,
So
okay,
it
hang on.
can't. So your calculator cannot.
The box weight, DK, is not. It's just a variable.
It's something that could change.
Yes, but it's just a variable. Variables
But
can
the
change.
thing
That's why
is-
they're variable.
yeah.
But it's
So-
just a variable.
So if I take a crowbar and break that box, each of those pieces is now something that now has to be determined how much each of those boxes weigh. Each of those
Yeah, but-
pieces of the box weigh.
Yeah. And all of them have a different weight variable. It doesn't. Nothing changed.
Well, see, those have to be dynamically determined.
No?
Yes. You don't know. When you break that box, the physics engine is going to determine how many pieces that box is going to break into and how much each of those pieces is going to weigh. Based
I
on the
know.
material
The
that the
physics engine, I
parent
feel like-
was made out of.
I mean, yeah, sure, but like that's just more variable.
If something is assigned a variable, it still is a variable.
Yeah, it's like there's no point at which there's no like point at which something has enough variables to be described as something else. It's just a different amount of variables. Like it's you could use it to say something's more complicated. You know, like a pool engine is insane, right? Because it has a ton of variables. But
Okay, Rampage, consider it's not actually a variable. It's a box.
it's just a every ball is just a collection of variables.
Unfortunately, so like the physics engine would ask the game what material that object's made out of. And,
Okay, hang on. No.
essentially
Let's
determine its
simplify what you just said.
Yeah. Okay.
It would ask the game. The game would it would look at it and it would go, okay, the variable x was just called on. What is x? That's what just happened. It just asked for a variable.
The weight of a thing is a variable.
So is its material. It just all that just happened is it asked for a variable.
So the thing is that variable may be multiple answers because the object may be made out of multiple materials.
Yes, right? Yes, but it's still just a variable. It's like, yeah, the variable could be X or Y, but it's still X or Y. Like, it's still just a variable.
And so then, like, if it receives a certain amount of force, how much should it move?
Yeah, which is a variable and like an if-else statement.
It's not, though. I'd have to actually look up some physics calculations, but I'm not going to right now. This isn't something I can do while playing this game. This game requires too much of my attention for that.
But like it's asking for material, which is a variable, and then it's going, okay, we have this material. If material is Y, then take momentum, like take applied velocity and divide it by 2, right? It's all it's done is take the variable and then do math with it.
So,
take the variable, and that the variable tells us which set of math equations we want to do.
This is Phobos, preparing for the next attack.
So the physics engine would also be responsible for sorting out what those variables should be, right?
So you're saying that if I make a game, I put a physics engine, and many different things are materials, and all these materials have different values, I don't know what those values are because the physics engine calculates.
Yes.
What?
Okay, wait. So, okay, hang on. Wait, hang on. So, okay, when we hit a box with another box, right? The physics engine is the thing that says this was a box?
Yeah, something like that.
So,
And
as a game
it's
maker, I cannot say what things are boxes and what things aren't boxes?
unless you choose to bypass the physics. Well, as I said, it matters how you have the physics engine set up to do all those calculations. Because
So,
you may not choose to calculate things as a box.
All-powerful force that determines what things are
Okay,
boxes.
hang on, wait. Okay, so in Half-Life, right, they have this physics engine that just, it knows what everything is made of?
Yes, actually.
Like, it doesn't-
actually.
But what if I don't want a
So,
specific?
okay, so then why when you did this did you say it was asking for the material?
It goes through to determine what text. So the way
Okay, what is
Half-Life
it
used
asking?
So the-
what being is it asking to determine what the material is?
I believe it checks what kind of texture it is, but
No. You said the physics
That's
engine
a
determines.
variable. It's a variable run by the game engine. That's just a variable.
The civilians are now in
because there's
contact with the
actually like a set of
enemy. Excuse me?
information about an object that has to be read through and parsed
that's
through
a variable.
file. It's a file that has to be completely parsed through by
A
the
file
physics engine.
have variable.
Yeah, it has many variables about that one specific material.
Yeah, it's
Okay, and
it's still just variable. Nothing's changed.
But it's finding those variables.
but okay.
But Kuro's game is finding the variables too. It's asking, hey, what is what is variable X?
The
He could
problem
easily-
is his calculator can only do that once, right? I mean, I guess maybe he could program the calculator to do many calculations, but it would be
Yeah, so
probably
the
very
idea is
inefficient.
that at some point you would put it in a loop, and you would go, okay, we have, thing here. What is thing? That's we can look at that variable. Okay, we have that. Like it's just a loop. Like having putting a physics engine, giving it a loop doesn't make it any more or less of a physics engine. You're just changing what the physics engine does.
I'm still caught up on the fact that the physics engine determines what things are boxes. Because if I try to make a game and I put a physics engine in, then that means I can't say what parts of the game are boxes and what parts of the game are like steel beams. Because the physics engine decided it for me. And now I'm stuck and I have all these boxes and I can't do anything because the physics engine just like, this is a box. But I don't want it to be a box. But the physics engine told me it was a box and now I can't do anything about it. And this is a huge problem now.
It's not, the physics engine isn't determining what is and isn't X material. The physics engine is being told to look at a file directory or look at a file, right? And then in that file there's a variable which tells it, hey, this is
Well,
X.
okay, that file might have like say 100 variables, or
Yeah, but it's
200
only
or
looking for
1,000
one.
variables, and then it has to talk to the graphics card and say, you know, what's going to happen this frame, what's going to happen this frame, what's going to happen this frame. It's now here
that's just a
with
loop.
what will happen now, what rotation
Loop.
speed. What?
It's just a loop.
It's not a loop.
It
A loop would
is!
be consistent.
How is it not a loop?
Because a loop would be static.
It is static.
A loop won't be able to. I mean, I guess the loop could pull new information.
The loop is okay, so we have the loop here, and inside of the loop is the math we're doing. Like we have this calculate momentum, and it has we have calculate momentum
we were supposed
for,
to use Bargus for this.
yeah, we were, but it's not tall enough to hit any of the pylons, so I don't know what we were supposed to do with it. We have calculate. Goodness, why did it give me those? we have calculate momentum for object Y, and then we go and we ask what folder do we, or what file do we look at for object Y. So we go in and we look at the folder for object Y, and we get our like weight and our like our like air resistance or whatever, right? Or drag or something. And then we go into a loop and we check, has there been any momentum applied? Yes or no? Like if we hit it with a box, then yes, momentum was applied. And then we add that momentum, and then we're like, okay, what is our current momentum? And then we're like, okay, are we touching the ground? If we're touching the ground, divide its speed by a third. And then if we're in water, divide its speed by, big number. And we're just doing all of this. And then when we get to the end of this loop, we go back to the start. And then we do the same thing again. And that's the loop. This is what's calculated every frame. It's a loop. Because we're doing all of this math every time. Like a while loop. It's like while box is here, do these calculations. And then every frame runs through that.
Apparently, it's very high calculus. I just looked at what the physics engine calculations look like. And there are calculations just for position, which is R open parentheses T close parentheses equals R sub-zero plus, I don't know what that symbol is, with a T and a 0 underneath it, multiplied by VDT to a power I've never seen or heard of before.
The difference, DK, is it's just a different, we're just making a variable. How we're getting the variable, or what we're doing with the variable is irrelevant.
Not copied correctly. Let me just delete that. It's absolutely worthless.
No, so derivative integral. Yeah, it's DK. This is exactly what his calculator game is doing.
It's a stretch to call it a game. Please stop.
But this is exactly what it's doing. It has its velocity and it has its acceleration. Yeah, this is the same thing.
That didn't properly paste. I'm gonna delete that and just take a screenshot for my sanity. Here we go. I'm not familiar with these formulas at all.
Because they'll change for everything.
Well,
Every
I mean,
physics is gonna do this differently.
the mathematical calculus. I'm not familiar with calculus.
Yeah, but it also doesn't matter. Like, okay, so we're defining our position by we're defining the position by a variable. And then we're updating it, which is exactly what we do before, right? So this is just like another step. So we have the position of our box, right, as a variable. And then we're going, okay, here's our position of the box. What do we have to do to
the
it?
velocity
right?
of an
And
object
you
can
have
be
a loop.
found with the antiderivative of its acceleration and its position with the antiderivative of its velocity.
Okay, hang on. So we have our position, and we have to figure out how its position is changing. This is the goal of the physics engine. How is the position of this thing changing? So we have our position, and then we have a big loop. And in this big loop, we have a whole bunch of variables that are like its momentum and acceleration and its current velocity and its weight and whatever, right? We have this big loop, and then what we're doing is we're updating the position. Now, what we can do as well is say that the position is equal to that loop, because that's what we're doing. And by saying that, we're just shifting all of the calculations to one side of the equal sign instead of pointing the thread to a loop.
Exterminate the monsters in this area.
But
Commence operation.
at the end of the day, we're still just taking a position and then running a loop to do a bunch of stuff with variables.
You really plan on using that thing?
So it's not different.
So I guess we'll have to figure out if Kuro's calculator can find the position by finding
Well,
the
it has
antiderivative.
the position. Its initial position is given to it, just as it would be before. Because if you didn't give it an initial position, right? If we didn't say X is at Y, then the calculation would always probably presume 0. And so every frame, the object would teleport back to 0 plus the applied momentum. So it has to be given in the file that has all the variables. There will be a position variable, because it has to have a starting point from which to apply momentum and figure out how much actually has to change in that frame. And so Kuro's calculator game has a position variable that is changing every frame, because if and it's checking that position variable every frame because it has to know if that position variable.
Why are y'all dead?
We both got charged. It has to know if that position variable is at a wall, because then it the game has to know if the position variable is at a wall, so that it can give a different variable to the loop we're running. But yes, it knows the position, because the position is just another variable we're checking.
It knows the position because it knows where it isn't. Because the missile always knows where it is by subtracting where it is from where it isn't.
Technically, while a missile might do that, the game engines won't.
The game engine will, because it knows where it is and where the box is. It just takes it from where it isn't, right? It takes where it is from where it isn't.
It's just a
I don't think.
I mean, there are reasons we do that for a missile, theoretically.
But you'd have to do that for like every single object.
The game engine, or the physics engine, is not checking. It's not going, where is this box not? It's going, let me look in the file for this box, and see the position variable.
Well, that wouldn't actually be in that particular material file. It would have to. Are you dead?
Yeah, he has a they increased the hitbox on him a lot.
I feel like the game wants us to use that unloader.
Yeah.
I have this feeling, but I could be wrong.
Deploying. Cleared to
The
board.
it's not.
You really work this thing?
It's not any different.
Ergonus's regenerative abilities are extraordinary.
The physics engine isn't relying on a loop, but I guess
It is. It has to be. Okay, it's either not relying. It's either relying on a loop, or is only doing things when it's called on. Those are the.
I'm gonna have to like stop because this is going beyond what I know, and I'm gonna have to be careful because we've kind of like stretched my knowledge of physics engines at this point, and I'm gonna need to stop because I'm not a good enough expert on them. And I'm just gonna admit that I'm not an expert, and probably someone way smarter than me probably has a way better way to explain some of the things I attempted to explain. But like my original comment is I've seen a lot of people just remove physics engines from a game and rely purely on like just playing animation after animation.
Well, those are like visual novels. Okay? There is no object. There is only the sprite.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's how the Batman game works.
It's not.
it actually will like grab like Batman and the person and move them to a canned position so that it can play its animation.
It's I mean that right, it's not just there's a physics object, right, and there's a physics object, and the reason why Batman floats is not because the sprite or I mean, I know that sprite. It has another word that I can't think of. The sprite he doesn't float because the sprite is determining the position. He's floating because the physics engine is incorrect about where he is.
So, what I'm saying is, what it will do is it will act like it's playing a movie that you have no input onto.
So a cutscene.
It's a cutscene.
It's a cutscene, but it's gameplay because it's like you push the punch button and it finally just turned into like a you know, you hit the play button on an animation.
So it's a cutscene with QuickTime events?
Unfortunately, it's gameplay. The main gameplay
Okay.
of punching an enemy turns into a somewhat just like you were playing a movie, and the animation has to jerk things around to get them into the position that they're supposed to be in. For the, because it's literally just playing the animation, and because the object is not where it's supposed to be, it has to fly the object to the next keyframe.
Yeah. So the thing is, there's a physics engine there, and when you're pressing X or whatever, when you're pressing the punch button, it's taking the physics object and moving it.
Well, see, the thing is, like, this is the same thing as if, say, you did, like, like, because like if you take a 3D model and you create some animations for it, those are like static animations. And the game is basically going animation A, and all these you know how sometimes you'll have like models that are T-posing. The T-pose is like the default start animation for a lot of animations, and that's why a lot of games do the T-pose thing.
Yeah,
because that's like the opening frame of the animation. Which you shouldn't really do it like that. If you see that T-pose thing, that's because it's a canned animation that's playing.
Yeah, but
Right.
that animation
these
can also be
these
attached to a
animations
physical.
actually have positions assigned to them.
So, yeah, that's just a bad way to do it. First of all, and second, okay, so yeah, no, that's pretty. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's pretty normal. And you're just.
We've spotted multiple flyers.
Okay, so you have your physics object, and then you have another physics object. So we have the physics object, Batman, and physics object enemy. And when you press the punch button, it projects a hitbox. And if enemy hitbox is touched, like if enemy hitbox and projected hitbox collide, play animation first punch.
Yeah, first punch.
And then it will have animation first punch. And animation first punch has an assumed position for an assumed relative position. So like if we have a center point, Batman's going to be on the left of the center point, and the enemy's going to be on the right of the center point. And from there, we actually play our animation. What we're doing, if Batman is not at this ideal position, is we're taking the physics object that's attached to the sprite and then moving it to where it should be. So we're instead of applying any momentum or doing any of that, we're going in and we're changing the position variable to another number. So that we can play this animation. And then once we're done with the animation, we're effectively getting control of the character again. And when we have control of the character, we can start applying momentum. And we'll go back to being like normal. But for every punch, we're gonna render this this animation that has like strict values or whatever. If you wanted to do it where you still had the physics object, but a lot of the time you should be doing for like you wouldn't do it here, but you might load in different models where it's like, okay, we're going into punch animation, first punch animation. Let's take the model associated with this physics object Batman and move it to like some faraway ocean, and then take in our animation model and put it on the physics object instead. And then we're running this new animation model, and all this model does is play an animation, and for X amount of time we're locking player movement. So we're basically saying none of the input work. But like that doesn't mean there isn't a physics engine. It just means that doing anything with the physics engine. And we're running running a set animation, yeah.
Essentially, you're watching a movie at that point.
But we're doing, yeah, it's
We're engaging the flyers.
To answer your question, Kara, I was talking about the Arkham series
We don't have many troops,
of Batman.
but we have someone we can depend on. Hang on.
if you're playing an animation over a sprite, it's not necessarily like if you're locking all of the player movement so that you know you can do this punch, right? That's just a different style of handling. Like it's just instead of running a check for is if hitbox matches, like play wow, that's a lot of wasps. If like if you did if X is pressed to first punch animation and project hitbox, then you'll have the character sprite either be moved away and then replaced with the one that'll do it, or you have or it's just part of the same sprite. And then but it's still attached to the physics object. And then if the projected hitbox collides with anything, then another animation will play on the thing it collided with. But we're still like attached to a physics object.
The Batman character would actually not interact and just go through objects.
Well,
because he has to move to the new starting animation for the.
So is it? Okay, when you say that, is he like actually like when the animation is over? Do you stay in the same place as you were when you started it?
No.
So then
yeah, it's trying to move you to the start position of the new animation, essentially.
So, yeah, then they don't. It's not. Then it's actually more of a physics engine, and
well, it's
they're
based
moving
on
the actual physics object for the animation.
Essentially, the animation has a specific XYZ position, and so they just basically like take the character and fly him over to the correct place. This also tends to break their animation system, though.
So, okay, is it taking? So when you punch someone, the physics object teleports to another location.
The physical model just like flies to that location at super fast speed to the starting point of the new animation.
So they have. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you ever code it like that?
Yeah, it was the most unnerving thing for me ever.
No.
And so when people go, "Oh, Gotham Knight had bad fighting stuff," I'm like, but it doesn't have any of this teleportation nonsense that all the Dark Knight games had. That really bothered me.
So when you punch someone, you go to like an identical map, and then
When they get attacked, monsters will pour out of the nest all at once to defend.
you go to like an identical map that has like a. I don't understand why would you have to teleport?
Because the starting animation has a specific XYZ relative position to the first animation. And the animation, for whatever reason, needs to get into that new position.
So you have, so like animation first punch has, so animation first punch takes place at coordinate like A, right? And so whenever you do animation first punch, you have to move the physics object to...
Yeah. This particularly happens during like long combos. Because the game lacks any kind of dynamic animations whatsoever.
So, okay, what you're ascribing to dynamic animations is not dynamic animations. It's just an animation that isn't tied. Like, the problem here is that the physics object is tied to the animation. Not that the, like the model and the physics object are both tied to each other, to the point where if you move the animation model, the physics object will also move, and they didn't code, they didn't make it so that if you they just didn't code a way for it to ask your current position. That's not a dynamic animation thing. That's just coding it poorly. It's just like leaving out a line of code that asks for your position.
Essentially what they ended up doing is essentially like launching a static animation that has a particular required relative position that is required for the next set of animations. And I don't know, it's a really dumb way of doing it in my opinion.
Okay, wait. So are you saying like, okay, for like a combo that has, you know, like Batman moves forward for like his third punch, right? That's when he teleports? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to get into the new animation for the next combo, if you will.
Okay, so
and it's not,
yeah, again, that's not a thing about not having dynamic position or like dynamic animations or whatever. That's leaving out a line of code that asks for your position before you update it.
Well, it's because the animation is not designed to be ran from the position that particular combo ended in.
Yeah, it's leaving out a line of code that's designed to...
the game basically just like hits play. It plays the 3D model animation that was like made, and it has no particular backing to what's happening, if that makes sense.
Again, that's not a physics engine thing. That's not a dynamic animation thing. There is
well, a dynamic animation is would allow for the animation to more to get into position for that static animation.
Well, the problem is that's what's happening. The problem is that it is moving the
I know, but
physics
it's an almost teleport to the next position, which is...
Well, it is just a teleport.
In a dynamic animation, it would create the necessary animations, the game, to get you from that position to the next.
No, it wouldn't create them. It would run another, like, it would look in the asset pack and go, what animation is this calling for? It's not creating a new animation, it's running an animation.
I'm trying to explain it the way the Uncharted devs explain dynamic animation, so I apologize.
I think
I feel like animation and a physics engine are two different things. And just because someone animates something in a very weird way, that doesn't mean something doesn't have a physics engine.
Well, it means that combat system is not interacting with the physics engine at all.
That's
because you're going through buildings, you're going through objects, you're just no longer bound by reality.
You said it's not interacting with the physics engine. That means there is a physics engine. It's just not.
It makes me wonder. It makes you wonder if it has a physics engine. This is what I was getting at.
So you're saying that because you're confused about whether or not a game has a physics engine, that means it doesn't have a physics engine, and that no game
almost as if it doesn't have a physics engine.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at.
Calm down. Calm down. All right, we're good. Okay, we can figure this out.
I'm having a great time.
That it doesn't have a physics engine, nor that the animation is not interacting with the physics engine, because it is.
Well, it's not.
The way
it's
interacting with the physics engine.
With anything.
The way that it's interacting with the physics engine is just by updating the positional variable. So it's the problem is that you're not doing any checks. There's no checks or balances. The physics engine is designed to effectively be checks and balances to ensure you're not going through things. What this is doing is when this animation plays is just updating the positional variable, which will effectively bypass all of the checks and balances that the physics engine has in play. So when third punch animation plays, instead of saying we're applying momentum or whatever, we're going in and we're saying position equals position plus 100.
Wait, Rampage, can we reset? I didn't realize that this mission was not underground because I selected all my weapons before you came back to the thing and the mission changed. I don't have, yeah. Thank you.
So, it's not that it's not interacting with the physics engine. It's that, you're just changing the positional variable.
Well, it's the same thing as if you had taken the animations and played them, right? Because, like, you have these animations you make for the models, and that's usually what the game engine is doing. It is calling this animation and playing it, right?
Yeah.
But it gets confused because the next animation requires a certain relative position from the first one, and it's not there because I couldn't tell you why, but I guess they just didn't create any animations, any good animations to get you in position for the new combo that they set up, which is
so it teleports you. It takes the position variable and it updates it so that the game can continue its animation.
So it kind of creates this weird thing where sometimes Batman's legs are just kind of in this kind of crouched animation flying and just kind of going everywhere, and like his body is just going through people. It's funny.
So yeah, I mean the thing there's what's happened there is the model for Batman has detached. It's like offset from the physics object, and so the model is having a bunch of interaction that the physics object is not, and the physics object is gonna most likely have a bunch of, like, you'll probably, if that happens, I would assume you would like run into a wall before your model reaches the wall, because the model and the physics object are separated, which is going to cause a lot of problems. But that doesn't mean the physics engine isn't there. It just means that all of the ways to notice what the physics engine is doing are offset, so it doesn't look like it's doing anything. But it's still there.
What in the world are those? They fly!
Those are flying organisms known as haze.
By the way, they changed my shock.
Relocate immediately. You lose visibility if you
But
get too
normally
close,
with
so
my
maintain a safe distance.
my stun copter, I don't have a scope for it. I have to like free aim it. This stun copter has a scope,
Forget the tanks! Go!
which is kind of weird.
Keep moving! They're tailing us! We don't have the numbers for this! Keep them at bay, but stay on the move!
I believe in you, Kara. Go for it.
But yeah, generally, the models aren't themselves going to be like, you can make it so the models are the physics object, but a lot of the time you're not. You don't have to. Like Portal has models, and like the Portal model and the physics object are two very different things. Because
that was definitely pushing Havoc. And the
but
source engine.
the model, like, it still has, the model doesn't have a physics engine. No, it does not. The model is just a thing used to play animations and be visual. But there is an object attached to the model that is for the purposes of the physics engine.
Sorry, I'm just seeing this beautiful little tentacle monster grab onto the fence. I was like, that's
What a
great.
terrifying enemy! But we're going to survive! Just you wait! Enemy ships! Flying creatures!
Why
This
is
is
the
so
mission,
much worse than the high mobility droids.
yeah, why on the mission where I unlocked Phobos Plan 4, is it just squid guys in the sky?
Yeah, I
Well,
should've thought.
it's because of what you said to EDF that you wanted more squid in your life.
I explicitly said that I didn't understand why there was squid, not that I wanted more squid.
No, it's very sure you wanted more squid.
Yeah.
I don't understand the squid, just like how I don't understand how asking a question about whether or not a game has a physics engine makes it so every single game doesn't have a physics engine and it's just animation.
Well, a lot of games do rely on like for example, when a person dies, it's a scripted canned animation that plays.
It has an animation.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
an animation.
Again,
It has a
though,
physics engine.
with that, PK, it's not. The animation is being played, but there's still a physics object there, right? If there wasn't a physics object there, the death animation would take place at the location. Like, it would take place at wherever the base model is. When the death animation is played, the game asks, "Hey, where's the physics object right now? Where is the character supposed to be?" And then takes that information and moves the death model in.
It's usually based on relative position. This is terrible. Why is this like this? Ow.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I mean, that relative position is gonna be the the relative position.
I don't know
is
if
just
I
gonna
want to be alive
where-
anymore in this world. Jeez.
The relative position is just gonna be where is physics object relative to 0, 0. Like that's the only relativity that's there.
I approve of this bombing run, by the way.
Yippee. Ow. That's fair. Wait.
He stabbed me.
Oh, I can finally see things. There's no builder. I'm going to die.
That's not too surprising.
Oh my, that is a very large squid thing. Well, no, wait, no. It's just really, really close to me, and I could not tell.
It wants to be your friend. Also, yeah, they're inking the sky, which is crazy.
Yeah, when they die, there's a bunch of ink.
I believe in the power of 4 life benders at the same time. Rampage, if you want healing, you should stand next to it.
This will probably be my last mission.
I think so.
Now that the discussion has died down.
Now that we've determined that a game has a physics engine. I don't like these guys. Why do they block my entire screen with their very, very close bodies and giant ink clouds when they die? Also, why do they look so silly?
Because
I let you like things that look silly.
Yeah, but why do they look so
Don't kill
silly?
it,
I
don't
thought...
kill it, don't kill it. Oh, no you didn't. Don't kill it. The dot went away, but I think it was just covered by another dot.
I did not kill it, DK killed it.
Oh.
Sorry. Was I not supposed to kill it?
Okay,
I think
we're
fine.
good.
I basically
Okay.
just threw 2 shock things on it and let, you know, God sort it all out.
That does not seem like... Okay.
I'm sorry, that's a line from a video game.
I threw 2 shock things on it and let God sort it out?
Well, it was like, you know, kill everyone and let God sort them out. That's the actual reference, but I was leaning into it without actually using it.
Yeah.
I have little shock little copters, so that's what I was doing.
They're very silly.
They have stabby things.
I don't
They like
know.
they like jump away when one of them dies.
They make me very sad.
Just
I
move
thought that-
faster.
But don't worry, I'm also sad.
What are these
Just
other...
move faster.
Did you find ones that are colored red and that they do way more damage and also,
I have
They have heavy clumps.
by the way, you all are about to be visited by a much larger group of them.
Oh, yay.
I hope you wanted more squid in your life.
I didn't.
Oh, Rampage, they're coming for you.
Okay.
I'm running away through the power of a grape.
I feel like I'm the only one here who can actually handle these things.
I mean, I can. It's just very slow and I'll die.
I brought the wrong equipment to fight these in such large numbers.
I did not expect to fight them at all.
I would have brought like a gigacopter to fight these things.
That would be funny.
I brought a sword.
Yeah, I don't know how that's working out.
But I bring my sword to everything, so
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I'll just need more universally good equipment.
I think
I
Phobos
didn't.
and 4 is
I didn't
universally
bring an
good.
AOE. These things needed AOE. I just didn't. I've been bringing my like long range kit only. I
have something
stupidly
worse.
brought a machine gun with me as well this time. That was definitely not the right option.
There's more of them. Oh,
Kuro is sad.
obviously.
I don't have to be sad because I'm already dead. So
I used all my life benders to just see how fast I could heal. But then I realized, because I thought the mission would be over, but the mission was in fact not over, and now I'm sad.
well, I have health vendors if you want some.
Oh, there's a lot more.
Yes, there are. Okay, Rampage. My Phobos is charged up. If you can group all of them together, and then we do one really, really good bombing run.
I mean, or we could just stab them.
But that sounds way less fun, and also, kind of slow.
Oh, really?
Okay, fine. I guess you just hate fun.
Well, the problem is the ones that it's not gonna hit are the ones really high up, and those are the ones I can't hit. So.
Well, yeah, that's why you just gotta tank there for a while until they all decide to come down to you.
They keep shooting up in the air just to mock Kuro.
They do.
Ow.
Also, the turning on this grape is really bad. Like, I don't understand how it can be going full speed sideways when all of my tires are
Blame
are
the
driving
physics engine.
Yeah, I am going to blame the physics engine because this game has it.
You can specifically blame Havoc.
Like, these tires have zero grip somehow. That's not how tires work. They should not be able to slide this much.
Okay, you might want to blame the developers and the physics engine combined. 'Cause
You
feel,
really only need to blame the devs.
I blame
Yeah.
the devs because I think that they think it's funny that the tires do that.
It is funny. It's just very annoying.
And these devs seem to go, it's funny. Let's do that.
I mean, they did invent the speed star, so I think they can be cut some slack.
It's like, haha, that would be funny.
Essentially,
Like, I turned my grape a full, like, 270 degrees, and I'm driving, and I'm going the same direction, and there's no slowing down.
I just watched you drive by. I'm like, bye, Kuro.
I'm just driving on these roads. I have no goal except for to stay alive in case Rampage dies.
That's why you're driving around. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not trying to kill anything.
You're the backup in case I make too large of a mistake and die.
I just don't want to read this.
Well, Kuro, if
don't
you
wanna
want,
restart?
you
Why
could
not?
revive,
What?
you could revive me, and I'll like summon helicopter, and we'll have helicopter strike.
Ooh, but I feel like those things will outfly a helicopter.
I don't know.
Because those things are not very mobile.
The helicopter is weirdly dodgy, and also it can fly a little higher than they can.
Can it?
I was hoping to test that.
All right, I only have 3 on me now.
Cool.
I mean, I don't see any on me, but I think some are trying to chase me. They're just failing.
I'm gonna start picking up blocks.
That's reasonable. There aren't very many.
Kill the ones that get close enough for me to hit. It's also a lot easier to see them after I wait a bit from killing the massive horde. Because like I looking up for like a long time was just looking into darkness.
I drew my grape into a river. Very bad things just occurred.
Ah.
It's fine. There's nothing on you.
Watching that thing float by actually like.
Don't kill anything. Why is there a bombing run?
I don't know what you're
look
talking
at don't look at me. Apparently, Kuro's bombing me.
Yeah, you guys don't like you.
upset Kuro.
I managed to do 0 damage. Oh wait, actually, a single bomb hit. Let's go.
It hit me.
Okay, that's what I. Wait, this thing does a lot more damage than I thought it did. If that was halved, it did 630 damage. That means it does.
I'm gonna go kill the last one.
1,200 something damage, or 1,300 something damage, which is pretty good.
We have no data on the aliens, but the evolved enemy ships are dropping out on the ground.
What?
Wait,
I'm gonna hit you with my car if you stop moving.
they're floating in the air.
So the aliens.
Actually, that's a lie.
What are you saying, Kuro?
You stay still.
Don't worry. If you break it, we'll bring you.
I forgot how weird the pushing is in cars.
Blame the physics engine and the developers who implemented it. Oh, I got Heavy Bomber Phobos Plan 4.
I got that last mission. We're gonna have a great day.
I don't think I'd use it though.
I also got a new rapier.
I'll leave Kuro to use it, because I know he will use it well and wisely.
Yes.
Just
I'll
like,
use it the way that benefits me the most.
Sounds terrible.
Crack about.
In whatever way will annoy
No.
Rampage the most.
Benefits me the most. Sometimes that might include annoying Rampage. Keyword sometimes, but not all the time.
But we played 10 missions.
Well, I wonder why that happened.
I like remember so little of like 90% of the missions we played.
The entire time I was here, like the second I joined, DK was talking about physics engines, and the entire time I was here, that's all we talked about.
You're welcome.
Wow, yeah.
I think he was hilarious.
See, this is all part of the great plan, is to bring up a good conversation piece so we can have a good and healthy discussion.
Yeah.
I don't. We didn't learn
as I
except
just autopilot the game. I guess we'll have to do that a lot when I eventually get enough time for us to do ADF5.
Oh yeah, didn't you say we were
That'll
gonna?
be a
I'll come
long
up with
haul.
like more like controversial conversations to bring up. There we go.
Rampage, didn't you say we were gonna do that like 5 months
Oh,
ago?
you're gonna make me political. No.
Yes,
Alright.
here we go. Perfect, ready for a political thing. Do you prefer straws that are big? Do you prefer straws that are small? Or do you prefer paper straws?
I prefer.
Every
okay,
paper.
I have a great story. So, a while ago, I went to Japan, and it was pretty neat, you know. And on like the last day of the trip, we went to a conveyor sushi restaurant because we'd never done something like that. And I ordered this like ginger ale with mango in it, and it was pretty good. And then it came with this straw that was like a super thick straw, like it was really wide, and it was like maybe double the radius of the other straw. And so and then I took this plastic straw home from Japan, and I use it all the time. And it's this really great straw that's like double the diameter. It's just so much better.
So I guess we have Kuro's answer then.
I like really wide straws. The only problem I have is it's kind of short. Like it's maybe like 70% the length, I guess. But other than that, it's a great straw.
What do you think, Nick?
You know, I think that this is an odd-looking Lego piece, and I'm a little curious why it's here.
What?
I think it's Perry the Platypus.
I think it might actually be Perry the Lego piece.
Oh. Oh, that's genius. Yeah.
I'm gonna look back in the stream and see how long.
Okay. Well, I'll be back.
Still look at my stream.
I'll be honest. I feel like the only straw that has no reason to exist is the paper one.
So true.
My mom told me about paper straws, and they sounded terrible. And then when people decided that we should go back to them, I discovered it actually made my beverage taste funny.
Yeah.
On top of destroying itself.
Yeah. This is paper. You're getting whatever drink plus paper.
Wait, when did Tic Tac Toe come in and leave like 3 emojis?
He did that closer to the start, and yeah, he did it closer to the start. He was here like at the start of the stream, and then he stuck around for a bit.
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave the call so I can go scrub through this vibe.
So Rampage, you're thinking next week? I see the conversation with Limbo.
I think that we should talk about Scrabble.
Kuro, the problem with the conversation about Scrabble is that instead of a conversation where we have 3 people who all have, you know, different levels of, you know, interest and, like knowledge, we have, one person who knows way too much and 2 people who presumably know nothing.
Well, yeah, that's why it's a good opportunity for y'all to ask questions and learn and to further your knowledge.
So, allow me to tell you how almost every single Scrabble game goes for me. I get X and Z and Q, and that's it. That's all the letters I get.
That's fine. Then you can get lots of points because they're worth 8, 10, 10 respectively.
Okay. Assuming
Yeah,
that
so
there's a
you
word
gotta, DK, what you have to understand is you need to play with British English, and then, whatever you can think of, it's a word.
That is not true.
Just like put something down, it's a word because it's British English.
No,
That's not.
My parents would just like go, nope, that's not a word.
Well, they have to prove it.
Oh, they prove it by saying it's not a word.
That's not. They're playing Dad Scrabble.
I agree with DK's parents. I think Kuro, the Scrabble game that we played would have been so much better if we played by those rules.
But every move that we made was analyzed by a computer, and it was like, is this a word? Yes or no.
Yeah, and it was wrong.
Computer.
Yeah.
Should have called DK's parents.
Yeah, honestly,
we didn't.
It
have
would have been
internet
more
back
accurate.
then.
You don't need an internet. You need a dictionary.
Yeah, I assure you, our dictionary wouldn't have. I had a dictionary.
Was it a Scrabble player's dictionary?
No.
Why
It
not?
was just a normal dictionary.
Well, that's fine.
Particularly,
what's the
it was
problem
a
with that?
dictionary designed for children.
What does that entail?
That entails that maybe some of those interesting words you're thinking of aren't in it.
Well, speaking
The
of
words he's thinking of aren't words. So.
No. So you said the word entails. Do you know 8 anagrams of the word entails?
Oh gosh, why did you say a 7-letter word?
I set it up. So
Well, but an anagram, why would that be in any way useful?
Because how else are you supposed to play a word? Okay, imagine.
So the idea, DK, is that you have a lot of, you have like 7 letters in your hand, right? Unless I'm dumb.
That's right.
Right. So the idea is you have these 7 letters, and you're effectively trying to make an anagram out of all 7. And so if you know a lot of anagrams, you're more likely to be able to find the word you want.
So let's say you had the letters in entails. So that's A, E, L, I. I'm trying to figure out the. Yeah, okay. A, E, L, I, N, S, D. That's the alphabetical order of the letters in entails. And if you play, it's like you can play the word entails, and that has an S at the very end of it. But let's say that the board geometry makes it so you cannot play a word with the S at the end of it because, I don't know, it won't fit. Because, like, the word that you're trying to put an S on is on the left side. So you couldn't put an S there. But if you knew an anagram of the word entails, for example, salient, because that's a word we all know, you could put the S at the very start of the word, and you could play the same 7 tiles, but in a different order, and it would actually play on the board.
The last time I played Scrabble it was like when I was 5. And then no one ever took the Scrabble board out. In fact, I think it was destroyed.
That's really
Fair,
bad.
understandable reaction. The last time I played Scrabble is when I won against Burrow in a very fair and honorable game of Scrabble that had 0 cheating on anyone's part.
There was 0 cheating, and there was and it was very competitive. Okay, it was a one-on-one.
It was super competitive.
Wasn't people in the call, and there wasn't one person that made all the moves.
No. Every
And the person was definitely not consulting the
two
dictionary.
people that were there, because there were definitely only 2,
Two
made an
people.
equal contribution to the game of Scrabble.
I agree.
I like how Nick left the call.
And we used we were talking about Scrabble when he left. Anyways, and we each used real valid words that all have meanings.
Except for the ones that Kuro played, which weren't real.
No. So
And some of the ones that I played, I still don't think are real.
Every single word that we played means something to somebody.
Okay,
so
now we're
words
back
that
to
would-
laboratory having only real words, Kuro.
They don't. That does
They
not
mean
mean
something to someone.
And they had a agreed upon definition that a bunch of really old people decided. The people who made laboratory were not very old and therefore not very trustworthy.
I see. So are you saying that you played a bunch of words that would not have been allowed in
No.
the last game of Scrabble I played?
No, they were definitely allowed.
No. But
Actually,
meeting the qualifications of my parents knowing what those words meant.
okay. When did you play this game?
When I was 5. I'm 41 right now.
How many? Okay, so that was 36 years ago. Okay, maybe some of the words that I played would not have been valid, because as language changes and as the world develops, words like, I don't know, geocache, those have changed, and now they're actually words. Before they were just concepts. So if something,
you can't play geocache because there's no dash.
excuse me,
I
geocache is one word.
I'm messing with you. Like, the idea is geo dash cache. It's a joke. Yeah.
But that's just not how that word is spelled.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I apologize.
It's very funny because you were wrong.
I see. Yeah, no, that would definitely have not been a valid word. And I think if I had played it nowadays with my parents, it would not be allowed still.
No, it is allowed. Your parents are just stupid.
It's a proper noun, and you can't use proper nouns.
It's not a proper noun.
It's referring. It's an action referring to a proper noun.
No.
What?
How is geocaching a proper noun?
Well, it's because there's a company called
There is?
Yeah.
That's not true. Okay, well, there's also, like, a company called Amazon.
Yes, well, that
And
might not be
Amazon-
permitted because that is the Amazon rainforest proper noun.
That's not why. It's not an Amazon refers to any tall, strong, or aggressive woman. It's not
Okay. Amazonian
would be the
No,
correct phrase.
Amazon. Any tall,
Okay,
strong.
fair enough. I would allow it in that context, but you'd have to defend that, right? You'd have
And
to
How? Wait, wait,
explain
wait,
why
wait,
that's
what?
a
What?
better way.
Wait, how? Wait. That means that?
Yes.
Yeah, so you remember when I make the joke about the 10,000 years of Chinese Amazonian history?
Yeah, but Amazonian, not Amazon.
Amazonian is also means Amazon, which then means a
No,
a tall,
I'll
strong.
give Kuro that one. That's correct. In Amazon, like Princess Diana is an Amazon.
Okay. Also, like a
Not
company.
an Amazonian.
Well, they are.
So we just have why?
That's a great question.
It's Amazonian. Why is it why is it also Amazon?
Okay, so this person is an Amazonian, but that is an Amazon woman, or I don't know.
That is
I
an
don't know.
Amazonian.
I don't know how language works.
You would use Amazonian in both of those contexts.
Here is
I don't know.
from the World History Amazon one.
But why is it not Amazonian?
In Greek mythology, the Amazons were a race of warlike women noted for their writing skills, courage, and pride, who lived at the outer limits of the known world.
Okay, so here, let me give a couple more examples of companies or proper nouns that are words. So like the word Google, it's search on the internet using a search engine because it became a word because it was used commonly a lot.
Well, it also refers to a Googleplex.
That is true, but Google the definition. Wait,
We wouldn't have allowed that because that's not sort of a.
Oh, is it like a profession?
What's that? In fact, there is a painting called "The Warrior in Amazon." What's that now?
So is it like because a warrior, that's like a profession that a person is.
So the Amazon is a warrior woman, and so it's like a group
Okay,
of
so it's
people.
just okay, so it's a profession. Okay, I understand.
okay, so like another proper noun is Texas. You guys know what Texas is, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd allow that though. It'd be like
Okay,
using
what-
Arlington.
Can someone tell me what Texas is?
The best state.
No,
Wait,
no.
it's
It's
the
not a
correct
state. Because if it was Texas, then it would be a proper noun. But it's Texas, a structure on the upper deck of a paddle streamer. That's not a state. What are you talking about?
It's the best state.
No, it's a structure on the upper deck of a paddle streamer. Right?
What did you say it was?
A structure on the upper deck of a paddle streamer.
Marion disagrees with you.
Who?
Marion?
Webster? The dictionary?
Merriam-Webster, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I disagree with that. I use the Collins Scrabble dictionary.
Let's see. Texas, state of U.S., from the naming of cabins on Mississippi steamboats after states.
Yeah, it's a structure.
They named it
upper
after a state. It's like they named them after the state.
But the thing is still a thing. It's a structure on the upper deck of a steamboat or a paddle streamer.
It's
a cabin.
It's just what they like. They just give a name of a state to the cabins. Like this is the
Yeah.
Texas cabin. This is the Nebraska cabin.
No. That's what the cabin is called. It's called the Texas.
Not all of them. They just name the cabins in different states.
That's no.
The officer's cabin being the largest. So yeah, it says from the naming of cabins
on Mississippi steamboats after states. The officer's cabin being the largest. So that's the Texas cabin, that's the Nebraska cabin, that's the New York cabin.
Nebraska isn't a word. If that was true, then Nebraska would be a word, or Iowa would be a word.
I mean, technically, I'm not sure that Texas is a word.
No, Texas is a word. It refers to a structure on the top of a paddle stream.
It doesn't though. It's just the name. Like
But
a
it
cabin
does.
can be called the
It
Texas cabin, but it can
No,
also
it
be
doesn't.
the Nebraska cabin.
It doesn't. It refers to a thing. It's not what a thing is called. It is the thing.
A structure on the landing deck of the steamer that contains the officer's cabin and has the
Yes,
pilot
it
house
contains
and
the
front.
officer's cabin. It is not the officer's cabin or the name for the officer's cabin.
Well, the thing is that comes from the idea of naming those cabins after states. There's different states that they can be called as well.
But none of the other states are named or are words to my current knowledge. I have not looked up all.
I just don't know. Like I don't know if I'd buy that. I don't know
But
if I'd buy that for $1, but maybe I'd let you have it because it is Texas, and Texas is an amazing state.
It's not a state. It's a structure on the upper deck of a paddle streamer.
A potential name.
No, it is.
But Merriam
The
also
right
says
answer, technically, would be that it's both.
the thing is that naming is naming it after the state of Texas.
I don't think that's the case.
I mean, that's where the origin
Also,
of
not
that
really
word is
relevant,
from.
but okay, I'm gonna go eat dinner now.
Are you sure?
I'm just gonna leave them.
I actually can I continue what I was saying before I was interrupted? Before you go, so what were y'all thinking for next week?
Tell me
like,
where to be
everyone?
and I'll be there. What are we talking about? Is this for D&D? Is this for
No.
EDF?
Neither.
What is it for then?
Something else.
That's not helpful.
I'm sorry.
What is this?
I don't know yet.
Well, then why are we asking about it?
I'm asking Rampage because they asked.
What are you asking about?
I remember like Limbo said that they couldn't do it.
Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, that nothing's happened yet.
Okay. Well, let me know.
You don't know
then.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll probably ask more questions tomorrow, but yeah, we
Okay.
don't know yet.
If I know, then I can like schedule things appropriately.
Yeah. We don't know yet.
Understandable. Okay. Cool beans.
Okay. See ya.
Nice.
Meow meow.
Meow.
How are you?
Um.
You're alive. Barely.
I guess so.
Well, would you like to play a game?
Sure.
Alright, would you like to play Crime Boss?
Sure.
Or we could play Revenge of the Savage Planet.
We could play Crime Boss. I should